Wait a minute, what about...是美国最
Live.
What is up, everybody? Welcome. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day so far. We're going to be talking about aliens, Drew. Aliens, apparently there's signs of life out there. We're going to be talking about it. Also, the Fed Chairman Jerome Powell gives his warning that things may not be looking so good. China's calling us peasants now. It turnabout is fair play, Drew. I wasn't mad when I saw that one, I won't lie. There was I don't know if she was a TikToker, but there's a Chinese woman in a factory full of what looked like car parts, car engines, something singing about the fact that she has now very cheap car parts for everybody. We've got like $1.87 Gucci T-shirts out there. I'm not gonna lie, I'm impressed with China's clapback because of the whole idea of a deflationary spiral. That when you get a situation like this with tariffs, it causes a backup of all these goods. And this is second and third order consequences, man. People are gonna respond. What's going on, Eric?
Yeah, they're saying they can't hear you, but is that could we confirm that?
I'm about to digest this microphone, so I'm not. They can't hear Drew, or they can't hear me. Tell us about it, chat.
I'm getting like tin can vibes. It sounds like we're in a tunnel. Make sure we don't have that echo thing that we did last time. We're getting there, guys.
Yeah, sounds horrible.
Excuses, chat. No excuses. That's all that's running through my mind. Mic is not routed to SM7B. I hear lots of clicking. Your mic is off. Uh-oh. There we go. We did something.
I got it better.
Okay, so
all right. Good morning.
To my beloved team, let's make sure that we have a checklist so that we don't repeat the mistakes. Mistakes, no big deal. Repetitive mistakes.
Just right now.
All right.
Let's
make sure we have our checklist, please. Okay. So a lot of things on the docket today.
Yes.
It is going to be an interesting one, but there's really, I think, the biggest thing on everybody's radar right now is still the Maryland husband, illegal immigrant, depending on which side of the fence you're on. We now have one of the, I'm not sure if I think he's a congressman from Maryland. I don't think he's a senator from... from Maryland's in what, Massachusetts?
No, Maryland is a separate state. All right.
Whoa. I'm thinking of Baltimore. There we go. Wow.
It's early, chat. It's early.
That was terrible. Oh my God.
There it is. Chris Van Hollen, Hollen. Yeah, he went to El Salvador in order to visit the wrongly deported man. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm not gonna give him any type of citizen or alien.
you put wrongly deported already.
Wrongly deported.
Drew's taking his side, everybody.
Wrongly deported. He was wrongly deported. Whether he should come back to America and live there, that's another conversation. But he shouldn't have been roped up and thrown in the back of a van. So that's the part that
Was he roped up, Drew?
I mean, he wasn't roped up, but it makes for a better dramatic image.
So where are you at on this?
All right, so Pam Bondi actually released a 2019 police report of exactly what happened. He was found on the side with 3 other members. They had rolled wads of money. They have certain, I'm gonna call it gang paraphernalia, where you wear hats of certain colors and things like that.
Bulge hat that says you're in good
show your affiliation.
standing.
Yeah,
a shirt, I guess, with rolled up dollars blocking ears, eyes, mouth. Hear no evil, see no evil.
He had drugs
no
on
evil.
him. So there's certain things by no means was he a soccer dad on a Wednesday afternoon getting rolled up. However, the problem that I kind of hone in on is that the protection order that he was on was rescinded, and then in my mind, I feel like he then made this immigration list, and they just kind of treated it as a traditional ICE raid, grabbed him, and kind of just got him out of there. And to me, the process between 2019 and him all of a sudden appearing on a list, getting riled up and deported, that's the part that's scary to me. Because we were talking about during the type.
Is this a due process statement?
Yeah, because it's yes, his due process was in 2019, but to execute it in 2025, it's kind of like saying, oh yeah, you committed a crime. We tried you a while ago. We said you were good, but we actually just reversed that. Now you're going to jail. And it's wait a second. Don't I get another lawyer? Don't I have to show something? Don't we have to restart that process?
Yeah, this is going to be interesting because if it is true that 20 to 30 million illegal immigrants have come into the country, that is so many that if you're saying everybody gets due process, regardless of your status as a green card holder or a citizen, that you're going to go through a whole, and I mean, listen, the debate will be what amount of due process is right, but Vance came out and said, just mathematically, you're never going to be able to give all those people due process. So you either just say, well, they're here and that's that, or you say, we're going to be removing people without due process. That one's tough, man. That one's tough. As a thought experiment, you have to come back to what error rate are you willing to accept? because you are not mathematically going to be able to give everybody, you certainly aren't going to be able to give everybody a trial. That's for sure. And then what are you going to do with them in the interim? Yeah, I don't have a strong take on this. I would be journaling out loud.
Yeah.
So due process for citizens, I have a screaming alarm bell. You absolutely have to have it. It seems worthy of debate below that.
I think we're entering that territory where we kind of have to draw the line of, is the Constitution for persons? Is it for American citizens? Is it for...
It's for American citizens.
It's for
I'll
American
just help
citizens.
you out right there.
It's for American citizens.
100%.
I'm as much as I hate that, when they wrote the Constitution, they weren't even talking about all the citizens in the country. So now to act like in 2025 they were including illegal immigrants is kind of a stretch when they weren't even including the population of the current country. But yeah, it feels icky though, and I just have to acknowledge that.
It does.
Yeah.
This is one of those, there's not going to be a clean solution. The problem is that you let a bunch of people in the country illegally. You had an effective strategy, whether it was the intentional strategy or not is a totally different question, but you had an effective strategy of unfettered illegal access to the country. There might have been times in history where that's less problematic. Maybe not. I'd have to think through that. But certainly right now, you can't have that. You absolutely cannot have that.
Bazi Mayan, I hope I'm saying this right. It's a very easy moral question here. If you support Garcia being sent to El Salvador or death camp with no due process, even though he was here legally, then you'd be a Nazi in a previous life. I feel like the legally is where I'm learning, like I'm honing in here. Because on one hand, he was told that he couldn't be deported because a former gang, his life would be at risk. That gang is now no longer, around, and the protection order was rescinded. So if you rescind that initial order, that would make him being here illegally. So technically, I don't want to act like he deserves to be in America. It's his God-given right or anything like that. But that was he here legally? Was he here illegally?
Here's
seems to be
where
the line
I
of
think
confusion.
people are, they're thinking through this problem poorly.
Mm-hmm.
So again, I'm journaling out loud right now, but you need anchor points. So anchor point number one, you have to have a policy. You can't be looking at an individual guy and say, okay, well, in this case, let's do it like this. You have to have a policy that applies blanket to everybody. And the policy that applies blanket to everybody has to do with the way that you enter the country. And if you're entering the country illegally, that puts you into a different bucket. And that just is true everywhere. Everybody has a stated immigration policy. So then it becomes, okay, are you going to adhere to your policies to the letter of the law or to the spirit of the law? And that is exactly why you have a Supreme Court. So if this is something that we want to see pushed up to the Supreme Court, certainly that's one place. If you don't like the policy, then you go to the legislative branch and you say, we want to change the policy. And you attack it from one of those two vectors. But once you have a setup and you say, this is our policy, then you're asking the question, not how do we treat this individual person? You say, what does the policy say? And then you treat them accordingly.
If I may, the chat,
Please.
they are sticking on a certain point saying, read the Constitution. It says all persons should receive due process. The Constitution says persons, not citizens. They all deserve due process.
Yeah,
Tom,
but the Constitution didn't mean for black people or women. So it wasn't persons even when it was written.
I'm the voice of the
Yeah,
chat.
but I will say, so one, let's pull up the Constitution. I think that's a great place to start. But we're also going to need to pull up the Federalist Papers. That would be the catch. And so it might be worth asking the other chat, Mr. GPT, what the Federalist Papers say, if anything, on the subject, because the Constitution was written intentionally broadly. And the Federalist Papers are not like a legal document, but they were certainly meant to explain in detail the thinking behind the Constitution. And part of what makes the U.S. Constitution awesome is that we realized how absurd it was to not count women and African Americans. So we updated based on the legislative process. And we said, okay, that's absolutely ridiculous. And I think that's the right answer. Go ahead, red light.
Red light. We have a super chat from James Island Panther. James
go.
says, Tom, would you consider more content on autism? My daughter is a part of this epidemic and is currently in a facility to help her behavior. I love the way you process data and drill down to the root of the issues. Please help.
Sorry, this played noise right over more content on autism. Would I consider more content on autism? I so want to say yes, James, because you're being so kind and so generous, but it isn't a zone that I know virtually anything about. It's not something that I spend my time thinking about. So I don't know that I'm going to be super helpful to you on that. What I can say is, how would I approach it if I had a child that was autistic? Depending on if you mean we want to make sure that nobody else ever gets autism again, that's one path that is certainly, that will be pursued. I guarantee you, from AI comes on board and we're able to start recognizing the patterns, what's going on with RFK and the HHS, being very committed to figuring out what's going on there. If you're saying, what do I do now that I have an autistic child? On that, I would be just doing a never-ending parade of research in terms of, are there anything to do to lessen symptoms? So one thing I've heard, I've not done research, so this is very much at the headline level, but one thing I have heard is that a low carbohydrate diet can influence it. So I would certainly look at things like that. I have a base assumption that diet impacts things a lot. So I would certainly be looking at all the things there. I would stay on the bleeding edge of the research in terms of, Templeton, Grandin, Templeton, something like that. Those two words in some form, shape, or another. She was autistic and is autistic and has had a lot to do with how we deal with animals. That's going to sound strange at the headline level, but as you drill in, she realized that there were certain things that you could do that would have a massive impact on the emotional state of the animals. And she has said that her insights into autism were the things that allowed her to have those insights into animals. So there might be behavioral things, the way that you engage with your daughter, that could have a big impact. So yeah, I mean, I'd be looking at all of those things. I believe we live in a deterministic universe. And so there are going to be knowable patterns, ways that data is being processed by the autistic mind that, if understood, could certainly allow you to have better interactions, higher quality of life, things like that. That's how I would be approaching the problem. I don't argue with what is true, so I wouldn't spend any time lamenting that that's the situation that we're in. I would just start asking from a mechanistic standpoint, how do I engage with this problem? Word. Temple Grandin. Thank you, Hyatt.
All right. Amendments of the Constitution. Amendment 14, Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law.
Hold on. So I already feel lied to by chat.
No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States.
That's twice.
Nor shall any state deprive any person, this is what they're honing in on, but they skipped over the citizen part twice, liberty or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protections of the law. If I was a lawyer, I would immediately cue in on the two citizenships being talked about and established at the beginning of Section 1, and then I will also hone in on any state deprive it. Now, if Maryland deported the man...
Maryland's a state?
Maryland is a state.
I'm kidding.
You can. I will be 100% with you, chat, but because ICE, a federal institution, instituted it, that to me would mean he's not necessarily needs to have due process.
They're saying check the Fifth Amendment.
All right, let's go.
Check the Fifth Amendment.
Okay, I got to go to the Fifth Amendment. We amendment hopping.
But I think that there is wiggle room in that, by the way. And if I were an attorney on the other side, I would zoom in on the nor, because it makes it sound like, and what I'm about to say falls into a separate class of things. That's interesting. So this is going to go to the Supreme
soldier
Court.
in times of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in any manner to be prescribed by law. I guess you're comparing ICE to a soldier?
No, because not ICE. What they're saying is because, Chad, I like to think that you guys have addressed this already, but This is not an Article 3 question. This is an article, or sorry, not an Article 2 question, an Article 3 question. I'm repeating words that I have not looked into, but basically they're saying, no. What we're talking about is these guys have been designated as a foreign terrorist because of the association with MS-13.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that switchover, and this is why they claim victory with the Supreme Court ruling 9-0 in our favor, even though 3 people from the Supreme Court were like, "Wow, wait, that's not what we were saying." But nonetheless, they are claiming victory because if the foreign terrorist designation stands, then all of this other stuff goes away. And so the Trump administration itself has let go of any interpretation of this that would be for anybody other than a member of MS-13. And so I think their current argument would fall to pieces if you pull out the MS-13 part of this. And so that's why they're pointing us to the Fifth Amendment. But now go back to the Fifth Amendment again. So are they saying that this makes clear no soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house? Yeah. So in time of peace. Yep.
I mean, it's, again, it feels very icky, but
I don't know who's pointing us at that one, because this is about, I presume, I'd have to look at it more, because just saying soldier, I assume they mean enemy soldier.
Yeah.
But I would say that that's not exactly clear in the Fifth Amendment, but I would need more context. And I am as far from a constitutional scholar as you're going to get. So, I mean, fun. And right now, Douglas Murray and Sam Harris are having a stroke that we're talking about this. Just to be very clear, I know when I'm sort of in the realm of things that I have a cause and effect relationship to, that I've studied it enough to really have something useful. I don't have a lot of useful things to say on this.
And with this specific topic, there is a lot of spin. So we are acknowledging that you could have very well listened to one newscast and they would have told you a string of statements that would have made you think that this guy was a legal resident. He belonged in the United States. He was just grabbed up out of his bed and then deported to a high maximum security prison. Then you could go to another news channel and they'll tell you the exact opposite, that he was a gang member that is part of a terrorist organization, and all those protections are now gone because the Biden administration is out of here. So now every known affiliate of that terrorist was removed from the country, and this is a big win. So we understand that it hasn't been cut and dry, but that goes more to where you consume your
the
information.
place I would want to push in onto is, this is why you don't let people come across your border unfettered. This is a mistake. And the thing in my mind where the skitch is going to happen, because I do want due process, I would love to see everybody get their day in court, nobody be snatched up off the street. But the reality is that you will bog down the court system such that these guys will be here for years. You will spend an ungodly amount of money trying all of these cases. And if you have the base assumption that some percentage of the people that are here illegally are going to do very bad things, then the question becomes, what do you do about that? Do you just say, hey, it is what it is, that we've already let them in, and the reality is this is how we run our country, and to stand on our principles, they are going to get due process, or we are going to leave them alone. Now, if somebody took that stance, I actually would be like, yeah, I get it. Yeah. I get why somebody would come down on that. I'm not going to disinvite them to the barbecue, despite now that I've now that I have talked about and invited people on the show on the Israel-Gaza, I'm starting to get, you guys know this because we were talking about it yesterday, but I'm starting to get private messages from people that I know that are like, they didn't use the words fuck you, but that was 100% the tenor of the text. People feel some kind of way. I don't have that response. I want different people to see things differently. I want them to put their best argument forward. I want them to explain why they believe what they believe, and then I'll take on the burden of making up my own mind over time. So I get why people are going to look at this differently. I hate the spin. People need to parse through that, figure out what's actually going on, run this as a thought experiment. Given the things that you know, where do you place your emphasis? Is it, you cannot let people cross the border? So yep, some people are going to get caught up in this. Remember, not everybody that we remove from the country is going to be going to this supermax crazy prison. Some people are. And so what error rate are you comfortable with there? If answer 0, well, that's going to inform what you stand up for and what you think should be done here. If error rate, like there is some amount, then okay. Like for me, 0.1%, again, this is not something I expect to spend a lot of time thinking about. But if this continues to be like the conversation, then I'll have to buckle down and like really go in, if for no other reason than to be more useful to chat than I'm going to be able to be right now. But I think that there is an acceptable error rate. I think that gangs are more problematic than people think they are. I've seen that up close. I also think that not everybody that was in a gang is a bad person. So for people that don't know my story, back at Quest, we were almost in Compton, just so that I never have to deal with people saying he's lying about that. We were like literally right on the border. So we've always rounded it to we were in Compton, and we're manufacturing in one of the worst neighborhoods in America. And so we were surrounded by people that were either in a gang or former gang members. And because I believe it doesn't matter who you are today, it matters who you want to become, the price you're willing to pay to become that person. I was like, hey, even if somebody has a felony conviction, I will consider them for employment. Doesn't mean I'm going to hire them simply because they have a felony conviction. It wasn't like that. But I'm not going to rule them out just because of that. And so we had some incredible people that had felony convictions. But we also had people that were stealing from us, and in a coordinated way. And so it became like, I remember one of the guys that I ended up getting really close to, who was a former drug dealer, gang member. Oh man, I really want his story to be told one day. And he was like, you can't be naive about this. Like, these guys, they're going to lie to your face. They're going to try to be really kind, but behind your back. And one of them recorded people saying it. This is such a crazy time in my life. And so I was literally a part of an unofficial sting operation where one of the guys was like, Tom, these guys are stealing from you and they're lying to your face and I can prove it. And he said, come with me. I'm going to call this guy and I'm going to get him to say, because I'm going to tell him I want to be a part of it. And I'm going to get him to admit what they're doing. And he did. And they did admit it. And it was fucking bananas. And I couldn't believe it. And I was like, God damn, like, things like that will begin to harden you to the way that people are. I mean, this is all part of the period in my life where the punchline ends up being, you have to give up on adults, just to be clear.
Okay, we have new information in the chat.
Let's go.
Apparently, I read Article 5 versus Amendment
I was just
5.
going to bring that up, actually.
It's,
All right,
it's
what's
early,
Article
guys.
5?
That's going to be the theme of today's
It's the
show.
Fifth Amendment.
Okay, so let's talk about the Fifth Amendment, everybody. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, which in active service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. I read the Fifth Amendment. This is granting due process and double jeopardy. Double jeopardy means you can't get tried for the same thing twice, right? His time in court was in 2019 when he was arrested with gang-affiliated members. He was confirmed to be a part of a gang at that time, but he wasn't deported because of this protection order. Once MS-13 became a terrorist organization, all those protection orders were then rescinded, which went back to the default of this person had a strike on his record illegally here in the U.S. That is the due process that the Trump administration is leaning on. Yes, it's 6 years later after something changed significantly in the case, but to say he didn't have any due process or an appeals process maybe would be a better argument than saying no due process.
I think all of this comes down to the Foreign Enemies Act, which it's my understanding that the Supreme Court just ruled on. So why is nobody saying pull up the Foreign Enemies Act? Let's pull that up. Also, can we get I'm very curious, a poll in chat, please, you guys. I would like to know on our boy, Mr. Garcia, deport yes, deport no, unsure.
Damn. All right.
We'll give him the unsure this time.
Oh,
you nice. Give it to him.
Under this law, the president could authorize the arrest, relocation, or deportation of any male over the age of 14 who hailed from a foreign
Now-
enemy country.
They're gonna. How do you specifically want me to word this? Because it always comes down to the.
I'm not sure. It's like, nah.
Should
Okay.
Mr. Garcia have been deported? Yes, no, unsure. And I use the word should intentionally.
Okay. Yep. Sometimes the semantics of the situation.
Yeah, people
so,
feel some kind of way. I hear
Semantics
it.
be
I hear
semantics.
it.
Okay, while you guys are answering that,
We also have a super chat, by the way,
Let's go.
regarding this topic.
super chat. Let's
And
do
I've
it.
also started the poll. The poll is in the chat. Don't forget to vote. Let's go to the super chat from Michael Vandergallion. Michael says, legally persons mean all people in U.S. jurisdiction, also non-citizens. However, due process doesn't mean the same for all people legally, citizens and non-citizens. The answer is, it depends and is complicated.
Yeah, it depends and it's complicated. Sounds about right.
I feel like that's the law process though. To your point, like if you see a lawyer before lunch, your conviction rates are higher than if you see him after lunch. Like it's
Don't even
like,
get me started on that.
yeah,
It's
it
so
depends
crazy.
and is complicated. Like that's American law system, but yeah,
Man,
yeah.
this one so far, chats 54% say yes. So this is not exactly. There's not one side that's really running away with it here. Still early, but damn. How many people have voted? For some reason, I can't see that on my side.
180.
All right, let's keep it going.
There's a
Let's
lot of
keep it
not
going.
sures, though. This is
Don't
why-
deport to a
this is why
prison.
hate
I
the
think a
not
lot of
sure.
people are going to feel that. And sorry to talk over you there for a second. Sorry, what were you saying?
I said this is why I hate the not sures, because there's always a huge chunk of not sures.
Yeah, but I like that, especially
like it?
now. Like this,
It's okay to say I don't
This
know.
one is
Yeah.
so complicated. Like my only honest answer right now is I lean yes, but not sure. Like I would really have to deep dive into this
Yeah.
because I need to understand. I need to come to a cause and effect sense of what are the knock-on effects of this. And I think people are right to worry that if we just start discarding due process here, do we start discarding due process for our enemies? Like my big fear with Trump is that he's going to weaponize the justice system. Like I know he's constitutionally not. So please don't think I was expecting this. I was not expecting this. But the thing that I want from Trump is I was so hounded by the previous administration. The very thing I'm not going to do is hound my opponents. Dear fellow Americans, we have to be looking forward. And if you got that vibe, like somebody was actually trying to bring people together, it would be so rad. And I get it right now. We are so divided. But that is the thing that I want. And I like to think that in my very, very small way as a person on YouTube, I am trying to model that by saying, I keep pulling myself to the middle on purpose. I keep trying to make sure that I understand where the other side is coming from. Because these things are complicated and it is inevitable that there are going to be consequences to things I'm not thinking about right now. And that's why the thing I fear in my own mind is that as I see the things that work, whether that's in business, whether that's on camera, because of course, I can't stop my brain from mapping the things that chat loves when I say. Mm-hmm. I can't stop myself from realizing if I say the things that chat likes when I say, I will grow the audience faster. I will have a bigger business on the YouTube side. Like there are all these positive externalities. But I don't think that that's good for the soul of the nation or for my soul for that matter. And so I resist that urge with everything that I have. So having the not sure button in life is just wise. Though I will playfully at times, I'm sure, say we're not letting people have an out on this one. But that's in life, it's pretty rare that I back myself into that corner. It's not never, but it's rare.
If I may add,
Please.
From Skirbaderba.
Let's go.
Skirbaderba earlier had said, we don't know that he was illegal because there was no due process.
Eunice, we here right now this morning because I was going to pull up Skirbaderba's comment because I love Skirbaderba. Skirbaderba's my homie. Skirbaderba makes me laugh all the time in the chat.
Let's go. Skirba.
He was in front of a judge in 2019. So to say no due process, there was some due process.
And the judge was like, you are a gang member. And P.S., there's a rival gang that might kill you, so we're gonna.
You
let it
shouldn't
go.
be here, but if we send you home, you're gonna get killed. We don't want you to get killed, so we're gonna leave you here. But you are a gang member, and you're illegally here. But we can't deport you just yet, which makes it complicated. Because if a judge says they can't deport you, then technically, I guess you are legally here, even though you're illegal.
Right.
You get what I mean?
I do.
I'm dancing. I am doing mental gymnastics right now. I
don't know
am
if that's
Simone
mental
Biles
gymnastics,
in my
but,
back. Like,
I get how this issue is complicated. Okay, for my own sake, I will be mentally abstracting this. Chat. This doesn't feel like the highest use of our time, but I'm here to serve, chat. So if you
Chat
guys
is still
really want
voting,
to
by the way.
keep talking about this,
oh, how many votes are we at?
We are at 314.
Let's go vote.
Wow.
I said let's go vote. Let's
Let's
go
go.
chat vote.
318, 320.
pathway to citizenship. I need more context for that. If he's illegally here, he needs to go back to his country of origin. Yeah, Moni, I hear that. So I am definitely a fan of, you had a lot of people come here illegally. That is bad mojo. You need to have some way of getting the people out of the country. I don't think it is realistic to put everybody through a jury trial. That's for sure. But at the same time, you've got to have some way to keep your error rate very low. And right now, the energy on the Republican side does not feel like, hey, we need to be really thoughtful about this. It feels like we're going to smash windows. We're going to drag people out of cars. Like, we're just going to get them the fuck out. I don't love the way that that feels. But I also, it is the level of energy that I see being brought out for this guy. I want to see that same on the flip side of, you cannot let people just pour into your country. Like, yeah. That one feels like that if you want to drag me into a place where I have a high risk of looking terrible to history, that's where you want to drag me. But ironically, that's where I feel the most comfortable, which is countries have a culture. You need to protect that culture. Yeah, period.
Yeah.
But that one is like, history is going to feel some kind of way about that. And I don't yet know how it's going to feel. But nonetheless, I feel a large amount of conviction in my stance. So there it is. All right.
There it is.
What that vote is, Eunice, because
We
we
want the
seem to
final?
be, we've been hovering at 53, 54% since it started.
We are 368 votes, 53% yes, 23% no, 24% not sure.
Shout out to the 24% not sure.
Oh, so like this is more yes. We don't have a lot of no's. 24%, you said?
23% no,
23% no?
24% not sure.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
And we are ending it. And also, we had 3 yeses, 3 nos, and 1 not sure on Twitch.
Oh,
let's
so-
go
so
Twitch in the
so
house.
Twitch is
Come
split.
on now.
Yeah.
Twitch is split.
Yeah.
There it
Okay.
is.
There's one more thing we need to like hone in on this, and that's the private prison aspect of it. We are now.
How much emphasis is on the word private in this question?
I'm kind of showing my hand here. With El Salvador, Trump is estimated, I don't know if we officially did that, but allegedly he's working on having El Salvador house criminals, one, that are illegally deported, and 2, other super violent criminals from the U.S. to possibly go there. I know a lot of people, this has kind of hit their flags of like, wait, we're outsourcing prison labor. This feels like prison camp vibe. I know on the Tight 60 you said that. It's reminding you of Australia. Is there something that we can like hone in on there? But to me, it's like we always had private prisons, so it's a little bit less nuanced for me. It's just a next evolution of outsourcing. I treat it like a call center. It's a shitty policy. We shouldn't have for-profit prisons at all. But to act like El Salvador is the first private prison when we have them operating legally in the U.S. for decades seems like a not new information, at least for me. Yeah. I don't know what your take is.
The honest answer is, for me to be okay with this, I have to shut off a part of my brain that feels like a nuclear switch. And so I have and that is empathy.
Yeah.
And so I have alarm bells that go off as I feel my hand hovering over I just have to stop caring because we've let too many people come in and fuck them, export them, get them out of here. But yo, like that's so gnarly. If I okay, now I'm going to, this is going to sound like virtue signaling, but I think I put my money where my mouth is enough. that I can give people a nice, glowing, not sure answer. Okay, imagine me working in Marina Del Rey. Everything's going good in life. I'm on my entrepreneurial path. This all feels like it's going somewhere positive. I'm raised by my family to treat people by the content of their character. So I have this algorithm running in the back of my mind that anybody can change, anybody can become somebody new, people deserve a second chance, all of that. I'm now in Marina Del Rey. I'm in my, I guess, early 30s at this point. And I am having all these quote unquote luxury beliefs. Then I become the first of us to leave Marina Del Rey and go into Compton and start running full-time Quest Nutrition. And now all of a sudden, everybody that I'm surrounded by, they grew up in the hood. They're hard. Teardrop tattoos, the whole nine. And I'm like, do I really believe these things that I've said? Do I really believe that it doesn't matter who you are today, it only matters who you want to become and the price you're willing to pay to get there? Do I actually believe it? Or was it a cool thing to say when I'm in an air-conditioned office in Marina Del Rey? And I was like, no, I actually believe it. Cool. Started interviewing and hiring drug dealers, gang members, blah, blah, blah. And come smack into the reality of, oh my God, some of these people are some of the most incredible, kind, smart, amazing people I've ever met. And I'm like, damn, like you took this job as a front for your drug money because you needed to prove to your parole officer that you could be making the money that you're making. But you're telling me that because you now believe that your life can be something different. And I'm like, yo, this is crazy. And you go to the baby showers, quinceañeras of these people, and you get to know their families. And you're like, yeah, I was right to believe that people deserve a second chance. And you also come smack into the reality that the vast majority of people waste that second chance. And they keep doing ridiculously dumb shit. And you're like, fuck, I hate that this is true. Because there are some people that violent, Drew. Like if I described the things to you, which I will never, you'd be like, that's a bad person.
Yeah.
But I got to know them up close. They were dope. So I have the chills because this is the hard reality. Some people really can make that U-turn, and you want to do anything and everything you can to help those people. But in my N of 1 experience, the vast majority of people, they're baked. They just are a certain way, and they know how to live life a certain way. And when times get tough, they're going to revert back to that certain way. Yeah. And all the second, third, fourth, fifth chances in the world, they you end up spending so much of your time on the people that are never going to change that, dude, after years of pouring yourself in to other people, you just start going, fuck, the return ratio on this is trash. But you do get some people.
Yeah.
So it's like, what the fuck? So if you're just playing the numbers, you really do go. Like the thing that I always tell people is, because I'll tell people that story and they look at me with these doe eyes and they're like, oh my God, you're such a good person. And I was like, but I don't do it anymore. So I used to hire former gang members, drug dealers. I don't do it anymore. So what do you do with all of that?
Yeah.
And the reality is, at the interpersonal level, I assume that you could be an amazing human regardless of what you've done. But at the level of policy, I'm like, fuck this noise. I know how this plays out when you start doing mass numbers of people. And most people, once they're in a pattern of doing bad shit, they're going to do bad shit forever.
Yeah. And I think that's the hard part with this, is that there is a level of nuance here, because two things. One, turning MS-13 into a terrorist organization was the ultimate trump card, I guess.
Ayo.
Like, that changes everything. That removes rights, that removes privacy. And if you hate that, then blame 9/11. Like, the Freedom Act has opened up a lot of things that won't otherwise be legitimate in other senses. So Darian Smalls, thank you for your super chat. He dropped in the chat, I would recommend you look at Wong Wing versus the United States. I pulled up that case. In the 1896 case, Wong Wing versus the United States, the Supreme Court ruled that while Congress could expel non-citizens, they could not impose imprisonment at hard labor for being unlawfully present in their country without a judicial trial. So just reading that first statement, yes, you can expel non-citizens, you can deport people, but you can't deport them to a hard labor camp. So a lot of people will be like, see, this is what they're talking about. They shouldn't have done this to Garcia. This is where the exception comes in. Unless you're a terrorist, unless you're part of the
also, guys,
enemies
there's such an easy way around that. What they're going to do is say, we just deported them to El Salvador. What El Salvador does with their citizens, that's not on us. Yeah. Like, don't fucking point fingers at me. He put them in prison. So that is the world's easiest get out of jail for the politicians ever.
And Aaron Dowling, the prison specifically designed for terrorists is much on par with Gitmo than U.S. private prisons. Exactly. And we're still using Gitmo.
What do you want to do with really bad people?
Not see them anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, as long as I don't see them anymore, you can put them in a box. You can, I don't know. But at the same time, I'm a naive person, though. So I think everybody could be changed. So
wait, you're confusing me. I thought you were saying, like, lock them up. I don't give a fuck. That's what I heard in the first half of that statement.
Because if I'm in the courtroom, I'm like, nah, he killed 9 people, but he knows he learned his lesson now.
But still put him in a box.
No, I'm delusional. If he can, like, I can 100% be manipulated.
him.
Yeah, I'll be manipulated by the serial killer. Absolutely. So I don't need to be there.
But you just said put him in a box.
I said I don't need to see them because I will be manipulated emotionally.
So put him in a mansion is also fine.
As long as that person is rehabilitating and or rotting, whichever one that person deserves, I don't know. That's a hard, like, I don't have that.
So don't involve me, but don't make me encounter them.
Yeah, I feel like everybody can be rehabilitated. I feel like our prisons should look more like Swedish prisons, but at the same time, Swedish people don't have a gang member that killed 14 people. So it's hard to say if that, like, soft living would work in, like, our prison. Like,
yeah, it's interesting. I think
here.
I have a darker view of humanity, which
Question
is
here from
fascinating for me.
Dave Gottschalk said, ask the question, what is prison for? Reform or punishment?
Prison is for sequestration. Is that how you'd say that word? It is to sequester. That's the only truthful answer. You hope it deters people, but some people are quite literally mentally incapable of making the change. And so you gotta get them off the streets. The reality is that if people don't feel safe, if there's no trust, low trust societies derail, high trust societies succeed. And if you've got people out there doing damage, violently, extorting, all that stuff, you have a low trust society. That society will always struggle. And this is why, remember, we had put poor G on camera for our Tight 60 the other day because he's from El Salvador. And he said it like super eloquently off camera. And what he said was, you cannot put a price on how safe it feels in El Salvador right now. And I was like, oh shit. So basically, I'm telling you, there's an error rate that society will find acceptable in the reality of, I'm on the streets, it now feels fucking safe. Yes, you locked up some goodies, and I really hope that I'm not one of the goodies. I hope nobody in my family is one of the goodies that gets locked up. But goddamn, I want to live in this country where I don't have to worry about, I mean, literally, I can't remember what parts he said on camera and off, but for sure off camera, he was like, that women don't have to worry about getting raped. He was like, you can't put a price on that. So when things break bad, they break bad in a way that none of us want to live through. So you have to sequester, and there is going to be an error rate, and goddamn is that terrifying. But I would rather be in that situation than have a low trust society where people are getting disappeared by, in fact, let me say it in the grossest way possible. This is true and I hate it. I would rather people be disappeared by the government than by gangs on the street. They are both terrifying. Terrifying. But one is slightly less terrifying than the other. So it becomes a question of scale. If you take us all the way to the Gulag Archipelago, that's probably more terrifying than the gangs. So there is a point at which, in my mind, it flips. Read the Gulag Archipelago. But people being murdered and raped and all that shit just fucking, oh my God. Hard pass.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Jeffrey Long. Jeffrey Long, that was a thought experiment. I'm not saying they're being disappeared right now. I am not fear-mongering. So please, guys, thank you, Jeffrey. You've pointed out where there was an element of lack of clarity, so I thank you for that. But man, it does get frustrating sometimes talking on camera that I don't know if people intentionally misunderstand you, if they aren't paying attention. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not fear-mongering. I'm trying to think through the realities.
I'm interested because we're seeing dissension here where Trump is using their interpretation of the law to kind of go in a different direction. I'm also interested in seeing how we're using the law in a different way with like the Harvard situation, because right now it's being reported that the IRS is making plans to rescind Harvard's tax exempt status. And that's because what I'm assuming is the perception of Harvard, their support for protests that may sympathize with foreign entities that are also on this terrorist list. That's the hack, yo. He put them on terrorist lists so he could do a bunch of things to kind of swing his dick around. I'm starting to realize this because the Hamas thing is starting to, and the deportations around that as well. Is like, if you support Palestine, you can also say that you're sympathetic to Hamas, which is a terrorist organization, which puts you in a terrorist sympathizer camp, which puts you open to deportations, rights being rescinded, things like that. So it's interesting that both of these things are happening, whether you're deporting somebody from Maryland or you're taking a major university's tax exempt status. Like, I think that's interesting how we're using the law and interpreting it this way.
This is the game.
Mm-hmm.
The game is this stuff is vague enough because you, as the framer of the Constitution, there's no way for you to see how the world is going to change. There's no way for you to accurately predict the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth order consequences. And so you write it vaguely enough. You put in a judiciary branch to say your job is to figure out whether this new thing that's happening that we couldn't have thought about, if that actually lines up with the way that the intention behind the Constitution. And so there is a reason that the Federalist Papers sit to the side of the Constitution, that they are meant to be a way to persuade. But I mean, build your mindset around this. You write the Constitution, you keep it intentionally vague, but then you write these documents that are just like standalone to the side documents, but the Supreme Court has quoted those documents more than anything else when rendering their opinion. So it's like this unofficial, official thing, and creating these gray zones is part of the way that you keep it from calcifying into something that is so rigid that the society grinds to a halt. And so all of this messiness, all of us, especially me as somebody speaking on camera, who I know any enemy that wants to make me look bad will have no shortage of footage of me saying something that they will say, this is what he thinks, and he will always think this. Where the very, like, when you take me at the meta level, I'm saying over and over and over, the very thing I'm trying to avoid is to get dogmatic in my thinking, that I'm always trying to figure out what has highest predictive validity, what is the thing that most efficiently leads me to my goals, that my goals need to be honorable. Like, there's this whole gestalt of things, but it's so easy to pull me out of context. This is part of why I stopped doing written interviews. I was like, whoa, I'm easy to make sound crazy. And
You mean written interviews, like article type?
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
So, hey, the Wall Street Journal wants to interview you. And when things like that used to happen, I was like, oh my God, I was so excited, and I would do it. And then I would read the article and be like, what?
Yeah.
That makes me sound like I'm out of my mind. I remember one time I was explaining how I read, and the way they framed it legitimately made me sound unhinged. And I'm like, you can make me sound unhinged because of my take on how I read. It was
Can
crazy.
you tell us, or can we find the article?
I'll tell you, but it
Yeah.
won't sound unhinged. But the way that they wrote it in the article really did sound crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, I make use of all my transitional moments. So anytime I'm moving, I'm reading, I read on 3x, so I'm able to take in a ton of data really fast. And the way they wrote it made me sound like Ed Milet with the laser eyes on Impact Theory. If you guys have seen that meme where I'm like, I have 42 hours when everybody else has 6. And so I was like, oh, okay, cool. I see how you take it out, you set it up, and then it really does just sound nuts. But when it's in a larger context of all the other questions that they were asking me about, like, well, how do you get so much done? How are you being so efficient? Things like that. And then you're trying to explain it.
Yeah.
And there's none of the sort of wink or laugh about, this is crazy. And even my wife is like, she'll walk in and I'm brushing my teeth and I have headphones on and she's like, hey, I'm trying to get your attention. I'm like, so there are downsides, but they don't say any of that in the article. You're just like laser eyes and you sound nuts. So anyway, thinking through these things is difficult.
We do have one from Michael Vandergallion.
Super chat.
Michael.
Michael says, Tom and Drew, any thoughts on J.K. Rowling's reaction to the British High Court decision that legally only biological women are actual women, not trans women? I love it, as does J.K. Rowling. You, and yes, last of my super chats for the day.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for the super chats.
Shout out
As
to
our favorite
Gillian.
Dutchman in Turkey. We love it the most. Okay, so understanding that anybody, regardless of what is going on inside of their brain, they are a human being worthy of love, all of those good things. One of my longest friends is trans. So as I will often say, you cannot hate that which you love. So that side of things, no negativity whatsoever. Policies, however, need to be, they have to have a line in the sand. And so I think it is very simple to say there's a very clear difference between a biological man, a biological woman. Let's just draw the line. And that's that. So no biological men in female prisons, no biological men in sports. Anywhere where you would divide that line, then by all means, I would say you treat them at the level of the biology. It's just way simpler. It avoids any gamification, people finding loopholes, all of that. And I get that that is going to be worse for the subset of people that fall into that. And by the way, if by any method whatsoever, if the population of trans people becomes gigantic, then you would address it differently. But right now, it is a very small number of people. And the safest way from where I'm sitting to make a policy that will have the least adverse consequences would be that. Not saying there are no adverse consequences. I'm just saying it's going to be the smallest number.
Do you think that what do you think this means, making this decision? Because I was conflicted reading the headlines, because it's like, yeah, the Supreme Court said this is what a female is, but it's not like a trans person was like, no, and like disintegrated or anything. Like, I don't like these. This is it's more than a law or something that a judge can wave at. I feel like it ultimately is still these communities, these people's lifestyles. So they're still there. So I don't. To me, it sounded like everybody was using this as a win, but I don't know exactly what might have changed or what might have what are the second and third order consequences?
Well, so from J.K. Rowling's perspective, she has been a tireless advocate for women to have women-only spaces because for reasons that I think are pretty understandable, she was in a physically abusive relationship with a man, so she doesn't have a default all men are great stance. And so if you know that like right now, There are shelters that women can go to when they're being abused. That for sure, if you're if you've just been raped or something horrendous like that, you want to know, I'm going to a space that is going to be, at least I can choose to be in a space that is all women all the time, because that danger isn't present. And so if I'm a woman in prison, for instance, this is one of the things that J.K. Rowling has pushed back on. I want to make sure that there are going to be no men in that prison, biological men, regardless of how they identify. If I'm a woman in sports, I want to make sure that I'm not now having to compete against biological men. And so that's certainly what she's fighting for. So the reason that she's taking that as a victory is now, at least, and I'm not sure what jurisdictions, because this isn't the American Supreme Court. This is Scottish, UK. This
is the British High Court.
There we go. So obviously this doesn't impact us, but for them, they're drawing a line. Now, it's interesting to see them be the first movers here, because the Tavistock Clinic, I think, were the first ones to go from we offer gender affirming care to hard stop, because they were saying that the outcomes did not justify the continued use of that strategy. So this is all going to play out more and more over time as we see if this ends up being good outcomes, bad outcomes. Right now, this is very religious. And so it takes on very different tenor. So anyway, that's why I think she would say that this was a big victory.
Copy. And I'm like looking through it in the chat, but yeah, it sounds like you hit it spot on. They're not getting any additional protections, but it is kind of solidifying their women-only spaces and the constitutional legality of having those. Yep. Question from Brutus Lugo.
Let's go, Brutus.
Do you believe your trans friend is the gender they say they are?
Okay, so this is where we have to get into what does gender mean. So if gender is this notion of how you feel internally, then sure. If he feels that way or she feels that way internally, I don't have any beef with that. But if we're saying that gender is another way of expressing biological reality, then no, of course not. So it just comes down to how you define that. And I don't know the history of the etymology of the word gender. I've heard debates. There was a guy specifically, and I'm sure Chad will know his name, who introduced the idea of gender as this new thing. And then over time, it just became, we talked about them as one and the same. Because for me as a kid growing up, gender and sex were the same thing. So in my mind, I've mapped it that way. But if people are saying, hey, the new way that we treat this word gender is this is how somebody feels, cool. I don't understand why people get in a twist about that. But then prisons, if gender is this other thing that has to do with something going on psychologically inside of you that determines how you map your own internal emotional state to this external thing that we call sex, then I'm like, well, you have to draw the line such that people that the gender doesn't influence what prison they go in. The gender doesn't influence what sport they play. The biological reality determines that. So I don't care what words people use on that. Like, we just all have to decide as a society, which way are we defining it? And then I will play by those rules. And then I will tell you the thing I think based on how people want to use the words. But my default, the thing that I will accidentally always repeat, is that gender and sex are the same thing, just because that's how I grew up with. So there's a deep connection in my brain with those two ideas. But I'm perfectly happy to create another word, whatever, where we say, does the way the person feels about themselves match to their biological reality? The things I know about the brain tell me it is entirely possible that there are people who feel like they map their identity to something different. That is not in any way, shape, or form surprising to me. The brain is fucking weird, and it hyper segments things. So for instance, take the visual field. There's a part of your brain, its only job is to say, that's a right angle. There's a part of your brain that's only job is to say, that thing is moving up. There's a part of your brain that's job is, that thing is moving down. And so given how hyper segmented the brain is, it would not strike me as odd if there is some small number of people for whom it's like, I feel differently about my quote unquote gender than my biological reality would tell you. But that doesn't stop them from having stronger upper bodies, which is why I would not want them in sports. It doesn't stop them from having a whole host of different things like much higher sexual aggression, things like that. So getting into the nuance of it, I find it infinitely fascinating, but that doesn't mean I think it should affect policy. Ipso facto.
Ipso facto.
So facto. We do have 2 super chats here. Patrick writes and says, "Morning, everyone. Tom, curious about what the book on Hamilton that you're currently reading is. If you want to answer that."
The book on Alexander Hamilton, I think, is just called Alexander Hamilton or
By
Hamilton.
Ron
Chernow.
Chernow. I got it
Yeah.
right.
So book is called Alexander Hamilton, and the author is Ron Chernow.
We gotta add that to the book
And
list.
I don't know if
It's
we
on
wanna
there.
zoom in, but
And
there it is.
Patrick also said, also, the case for Destiny's high intelligence, in quotes, weakens by the day. LOL.
It's interesting. I think people would have an easier time parsing the world if they understood there's a big difference between someone draws a different conclusion than me and someone who is able to process data. I think that Destiny can process data very rapidly, which is very interesting.
And processing data is your definition of intelligence.
The rate at which you can process data to me, and now this gets a little bit esoteric, but the ability to discern a high degree of nuance is also a sign of intelligence. So the rate at which you can process data and the rate at which that you can accurately categorize things, left alone, I'd probably give more and more and more. The ability to predict consequences, that's also going to be extremely useful. And that to me is cause and effect. So all of those things are intelligence. Now, part of the reason that I want people to draw that distinction is I think people have a propensity to conform to the thinking of people that they deem to be more intelligent than them. And I think that would be a mistake. You want to conform to cause and effect. And so if you can accurately map cause and effect and you're looking at somebody who's smarter than you, but you think that they have mismapped the cause and effect, then I would ignore them. This is where I come down with somebody like Sam Harris. To me, it is self-evident that Sam Harris is smarter than I am, but I also think that he draws wrong conclusions. So do with that what you will. We're all fallible. I draw wrong conclusions all the time. So it's just a question of, okay, that person's smarter than me. That's great. They might be a high leverage place for me to check in with, but I'm ultimately running them against first principles thinking, not using them as a heuristic of that person believes it, therefore I believe it too. Man, I need a catchier way of saying that, because if people lived by that, their lives would be a lot better.
We have a follow-up to Patrick's question as well.
Let's go.
Patrick said, "Oh, also, any other good recommendations?"
By the way, sorry. Patrick Wrightson is the person that I saw in the feed. I can't remember which feed it was. It was like, hey, Tom Bilyeu's take on this will help all of you. And it had 0 views. Patrick, I love you. It had 1 view because I saw it. But God bless Patrick Wrightson.
Patrick, God bless you. Patrick
Indeed.
says, any other good recommendations in the founders / constitutional / American founding lead up genre? Books?
Specifically the founders, no. Alexander Hamilton, George Washington, yes. Read George Washington. Was it worth me spending the time to look this up? I read a book on George Washington that I thought was pretty good. I've read a book on Lincoln, but he was not technically a founder. So do with that what you will. I would also, if you want to understand America, like in all of its reality, I would read about the conquest of the West. There are several good books about that. I think it is wise to have an unflinching look at what America really is. It will certainly help you form an opinion about Israel-Palestine, because I think there are a ton of parallels between that. Oh, shit. This is funny. I didn't even realize this. Washington by Ron Chernow. Let's go, Ron Chernow. Apparently, I am a Ron Chernow fan without having realized it. So I stand for Ron Chernow. It's exactly correct. All right. There we go. And then I think the next founder that I'm going to pursue is Madison. I think it was Madison that wrote the Federalist Papers. So you had 3 authors of the Federalist Papers. Please, chat, correct me if I'm misremembering this. obviously Alexander Hamilton, I believe Madison, and then John Jay, thank you. But John Jay only wrote like 3 of them. Madison wrote, I think, like 40-ish%, maybe 30%, and then
Hamilton wrote the
rest.
other. Nobody else seen the musical? Dang it!
No,
You left me hanging.
Does he say they actually address that?
Like and then Hamilton wrote the other 100 and something, and then he starts like.
When you look at how many
Lin-Manuel
pages he
Miranda.
cranked out in what period of time is pretty bananas. I'm so curious to know how Lin-Manuel Miranda,
Yeah.
what's his name? How he
think-
came upon Hamilton, like of all people,
He wrote he read a biography of it.
randomly. It was
Yeah.
just like, of all the things I could read today, I'm going to read one on this guy I know nothing
Yeah.
about.
Then started a mixtape. The mixtape, like he was
Whoa.
like performing songs about it, and then the mixtape turned into the play.
God, I love that.
They were doing plays, like he had some of the songs written before the show was even
That's
like
so
done.
cool.
It is cool.
Like, what a random thing to write about. Surely he told people, and they were like, bro, hard pass. Nope, don't do it. And he was like, no. This guy, I'm going to make this guy famous.
It's gonna
pretty dope.
slap.
I just
pretty
think
dope.
that it's amazing that it's a rap musical.
It's a rap musical.
It's a rap
Is
musical.
it really?
He's rapping
What?
the entire time.
I've never seen it.
It's on Disney Plus.
What's happening right now?
You guys cannot be serious.
Now, here's the
I
bad
don't
news.
watch
I can't
anything.
chastise you
guys
too hard
cannot
because I've only seen the
be
first
surprised
half.
at this point.
I
Let's
don't
be.
watch
Come on.
You don't, what? You just game.
Yeah.
No watch for you nice.
And if I watch something, it's usually like a Twitch stream in the background, but I'm not really paying attention to it. It's just
interesting.
like there for background noise.
You are
or
a
music.
category of person that I love knowing exists. It's so interesting.
You are a category of person.
Really? Yes.
that I
Yes.
know
Hold
that I
on.
love
Okay.
that.
I want to go. I want to go on this. I want to go on this.
Yeah.
Listen.
Clarify that.
Yes, I would love to clarify this. When you run businesses, you quickly realize that humans really do break into types. We'll call them psychodemographics, but it's probably the better organizing principle really is the demographic, meaning age. Age and location probably matter a lot.
Okay.
We are all products of our time. It is shocking how true that is, to a level that distresses me tremendously, because your frame of reference is embedded so deeply. Here's what happens. I don't know why the human mind works like this, but whatever you encountered as a child will hold a special place in your mind, even if not in your heart, as you age. It is bananas. Do you know what the last thing a dementia patient loses?
Their childhood.
Nope. Yeah, it's sort of, but it's
Okay.
very specific.
Oh.
The
Memory of their
mechanics.
parents.
Like how to
Say that again?
Memory of their parents?
Nope.
Okay.
dexterity? No.
Nope. Oh, Jesus, no.
Oh, sorry.
We don't know.
Nobody
We don't know.
knows.
Tell us.
Okay. The songs you listen to as a kid will last in your brain longer. They can take someone who is legitimately catatonic, play them a song that they recognize from their youth, and they'll like start blinking faster, their brain waves increase, all of this.
Whoa.
I've told my wife, if ever they think I'm a vegetable,
Yeah.
there are certain tests that you can do, and one of them is play songs from their childhood to see if it changes their brainwave patterns. It is so crazy. There's a author, Oliver Sacks. Oliver Sacks has written about this. I think it's called Musicophilia, something like that. Oh God, chat, check me, please. This should be easy enough to find. It is bananas. So the things that you encounter, this is why I want to tell stories to kids 11 to 15. You become a part of the thing that, like, as they get older, they have this huge reaction to. It will. Stephen King captured this so well in the story The Body, which became the movie Stand By Me. And he said, you'll never have friends again like you had when you were 12. Because there's something about the way that your brain is at that time that will matter the rest of your life. This is the Gabor Mate thing that fucking haunts me. Your childhood matters so much. And no matter when you grow up, you will lock in on like you just had this the other day with, you call yourself Paolo, one of your gaming personas. And somebody was like, oh, that reminds me of the guy in Lizzie McGuire. And you were like, yes.
Yeah.
And you guys had a moment. And I was like, who the fuck? What? I know I've heard the name Lizzie McGuire. I could tell you absolutely nothing about it. Palo doesn't mean anything to me. You could show me all the Palo in the world, and it just is never going to land for me the way that it will for somebody else. So take, for instance, in my 40s, I discover anime. I go way deep on Neon Genesis Evangelion. Neon Genesis means something to me. If I was in Japan for the first time, literally walked by the world's largest pop-up shop. It was absolutely fucking massive, thousands of square feet of like all this NGE stuff. And I was like, oh, this is so cool. But it will never hit for me the way that G.I. Joe hits. Never. Because when I was 12, I was fucking knee deep in G.I. Joe. Now, unfortunately, you can't go back and revisit it. There is an episode, if I've got some Gen Xers in the feed right now, you're going to know what I'm talking about. There was an episode where Shipwreck gets like kidnapped and they put him in a totally fake town. This is fucking, oh God, The Truman Show, before The Truman Show.
Okay.
That episode made me feel something so deep, even though I would have a hard time describing it now. And I would never be able to recapture that feeling because my brain is, as you mature, you just lose all of that that life is so weird and unpredictable and all of that. So that episode fucking sits in my soul in a way that has like shaped me as a creator. We all get it. That's your childhood, man. Fuck, it's so weird. So the brain is this crazy wonderland. I don't know how to explain it, but there are real consequences to your childhood. Okay,
I'm seeing some people in
Hold
the
on.
fractal.
Yeah. Fractual.
Indeed.
That threw me off now. What were we talking about? Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness.
And we have a
Everybody's
couple
dropping
super
in there.
chats.
Oh yes, super chats. Yes,
Let's go.
super
We have a
chats.
couple of them.
If you have any childhood cool things you want to share with the chat, feel
I
free to
just
throw them in
did.
there. No, but somebody else is like,
No,
somebody's
it's in
talking about
chat.
$6 Million Man. Somebody's talking about Lizzie McGuire now.
Yes.
Shipwreck. So people are D&D.
You're saying not me, other people.
Oh yeah, yes.
Chat,
other people.
chat.
Yes, chat.
Drop
Yes,
in.
drop
There we
some
go.
nostalgia. And for our Gen Zers and our young people, drop
I still
like,
play D&D with my childhood friends, and we have known each other from 10 plus.
Aw.
So fundamental in our connection, even with how different our lives are now. Sequoia, I love that.
I love that too.
Yeah, man, the human mind, dude, it is so fucking interesting.
Oh,
It's
also,
so
fun fact from Brian H.
Let's go, Ryan H.
Lin-Manuel Miranda read the same exact book that you read.
So it's the Chernow book
Yeah.
that gave us the musical.
That gave us the
That
musical.
is bananas, dude.
So he wrote that and
love
wrote a
that.
Tony Award-winning play. After you read it, what are you gonna do, Tom?
He's
Yeah.
gonna join the
It
musical. He's
definitely-
gonna rap and break
Definitely
dance.
impacts my
He's
thinking.
gonna-
No doubt about that.
We're gonna see him on Broadway.
Optimize your life is
stage.
Dragon Ball Z. Oh my God, my wife. My wife deleted her own. What? Elizabeth, I didn't get a chance to read it. Man,
Gem and
guess she changed
holograms?
her
No,
mind.
something different.
Oh, Gem and Holograms was my wife's jam. for
Polly
Schways.
Pockets, as told by Ginger.
For
Space
Schways.
Lego.
We all want to know. I hate calling my wife out because she deleted that for a reason, but I didn't get to read it. Smurfs. My dog is named Smurf.
Dragon Ball Z.
Let's go.
Pokemon is mine.
Pokemon.
Yeah,
Let's
I
go.
literally play Pokemon Red like yearly. Like it's my comfort game.
See?
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh my God. I went to the
Yeah,
movie
Eric.
theater to watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the 1990 version, where they're in
Oh,
like the big suits.
go Ninja, go Ninja, go.
Yes. Oh God. I loved it so much.
Vanilla Ice was in that.
I loved it so much.
Oh, Scribbler said Doug.
Oh, Lisa spelled
Yes.
something.
Do do
All good.
do. Ah, this was
Doug
nice.
does not get
Hell's
enough
Doug?
love. That's all I'm
What's
gonna
Doug?
say. Patty mayonnaise.
Doug and Patty Mayonnaise.
What?
And what's the
I don't even know
bully?
what
What was
that
the green
is.
bully?
Oh my god.
What was the bully's name, chat? What was the bully's name?
How many years are between you two?
Oh.
Because I'm getting a lot of sense of overlap here.
I don't.
4, 5?
No, I
No,
think
like
bigger than that.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
Oh,
6 or
really?
7, yeah.
But you guys have that much overlap. Interesting.
Well,
Didn't see
don't forget,
that
I
coming.
also have an older sister.
Okay.
She's 4 years older than me.
Fair.
So whatever she was watching, I'd be like, yeah, me too.
Facts.
So
You
That's
just
how it
called me a
goes.
green.
Skeeter,
Except my
that was his
sister
name,
watched
Skeeter.
MASH, and I hated MASH. Hated. She-Ra.
Okay, seriously,
Okay.
seriously. Okay, yeah, we got a
super chat.
super chat for real.
We've got a
BCC, I
super chat
wore a
from
Thundercat shirt like 2 days ago.
John Diamond.
John Diamond.
John Diamond said Hamilton was badass. He was born into poverty in the Caribbean, self-made man. Fun fact: he created the revenue cutter service, which took in revenue from merchant shipping. Tariffs, anyone?
Yeah.
It became today's U.S. Coast Guard.
Yes, also true. Hamilton literally invented the modern American. He invented the modern economy because America has exported it to the whole world. Fucking Hamilton, one dude. When you read about him, you really want to I want to punch myself in the mouth for being so dumb. It's like, bro, He learned about economics. Remember that this is like, how many books do you get access to in your life back then? Like, it's what you can fucking carry. He read about economics while being shot at as people are freezing to death. What the fuck? Dude, what am I doing with my life? This is crazy. This is crazy, bro. Like, people, oh my God. When you meet people like that, it's just not meet, but when you encounter their ideas, it is sobering to say the least.
Nice.
Sobering.
And we had that Sequoia Hot one.
Yep.
That's good.
Hamilton is awesome. Mindy and I was on it Broadway recently. The cast was awesome. Highly recommend to everyone.
Nice. I could only get my wife to watch the first half on Apple Plus. And basically, the only thing that I make enough time for, even when my wife doesn't like it, is anime. If I can get somebody on with me on Devil May Cry, like episode 1 is so fucking good. That spun me off. Like, I became obsessed with Studio Mirror. Oh my God, the way they blend 2D and 3D.
Yeah.
I know this is probably not the place. People don't show up for this, but oh God. Yep. I love it.
You know, Tom likes something when he's brought it up for the past like 4 days in a row. Like, I've heard you say the words Devil May Cry every day.
Do you know how I am simultaneously, I'm so engrossed with it as a piece of entertainment.
Yeah.
And I'm devastated emotionally that they're so far ahead of me. I find that devastating. But like, I love it at the same time. Oh,
do you think
so
that's
good.
like the creative in you, or is that like the ambition in you? Because I feel like I hear
it's
you.
Both. Those are those two things colliding.
Got it.
There's something. I'm a hyper responder to cool movement.
Mm-hmm.
So as a kid with GI Joes, I would make them backflip over and over and over because just slow motion before slow motion. It was like I could see the way that something moved as it backflipped. I was like, oh, this is so cool. Devil May Cry, because of the way they blend 2D and 3D, the fucking movement in the fights is so awesome. It's so awesome, dude. Nice. So I get it. Not everybody's into it. I tried to get my wife. I may have misplayed a card when I tried to get her to watch Moonrise. She was not here for it. Devil May Cry is way cooler.
The bully's name was
Action have
Roger. The
consequences,
bully's name was
everybody.
Roger. Thank you, Bullet's future.
How do you
Skeeter.
define age? Melody wants to know how you define age.
We have one more super chat, by the way.
The number
previous?
of years post exiting the vagina. Is that, can we get on board with
I
that?
feel like age is like a mentality, because there's a lot of 40-year-olds who act like 5. and
Is
there's
that
a
really
lot
how you define age? Really?
Okay, that's mature.
Really?
That's not age.
Because this is that shit. I'm not even going to go to. I'm actually, for the first time, legitimately going to censor myself. There are people online that try to use like, well, mentally they're mature enough. Fuck that. Like, at some point, you got to say they're not fucking 18 yet.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't
Wait,
give a shit.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Take a step back.
exactly,
Hold on.
motherfuckers. That's what I'm saying.
I don't think he was
I don't
going
give
that
a fuck what their attitude is. Age is not just a number. At
not
some point,
talking about
age is a fucking number. And lest thou hast been out of the vagina for a certain number of days,
That took
you
a-
are not the fucking right age. Okay?
Wait a
God damn. This is what I'm talking about.
I
You
don't
can't let
believe
people get
anybody
too
was in that
loosey-goose with that
mindset.
shit. So, yeah. I'll stand 10 toes down on that one.
All right.
Timothy Riley.
Lisa did give Moonrise a shot. I will give her that.
Timothy Riley says, if Turkey's occupation of Cyprus is wrong for settling people using force and ignoring the UN, then Israel doing the same in Palestine is also wrong. If you only call out one, that's not principle, it's bias.
Okay. Whoa. Hold on. Am I being called out right now? You guys need to temper me, otherwise I'm going to come in hot. Am I being called out? Is he aiming that at me, or am I missing context? Is he talking about somebody else?
This was just sent as
Okay.
I feel like he's coming.
Okay.
I feel like he's coming for you.
I feel like he's coming for me.
I say whoa, Timothy.
This, I don't know if somebody clipped me out. I don't know what happened here, but I've been very clear. To my own family, I say, remember, I have in-laws who had property fucking stolen from them. One day they're in their house, and the next day, motherfuckers with guns are like, this is my house now, bitch. And I'm just saying, just as in Cyprus, either fucking go to war or move on. Those are your options. And if you are going to go to war, motherfuckers are going to shoot the fuck back. October 7th was a fuck around and find out. You wanted to go to war over it? Hey, cool, got it. Such is your right. that if you want to start some violent shit, but then look what fucking happens. So my advice is, at some point, you just have to say, it is 10 pounds of ass that this has been taken over. That is fucking shitty. And if somebody invaded California, I would fight. And I would be perfectly understanding of anybody who was like, I will kill the person who is trying to take this. I will kill them. I will kill everyone they know. I'm going to murder, murder, murder. I understand that response 1,000%. I would do it if somebody tried to take my shit. Okay? Clear, yes? I'm just saying there is at some point you go, we need to move on. 50 years seems like pretty good time to be like, okay, I don't want to keep fucking litigating this. We have to move on. I'm not saying it's okay. I'm not even saying I like it. I'm just saying, guys, you get one shot at this. You've got to want your kids to want a better life. And so it is tragedy. The human experience is tragedy heaped on tragedy. It's fucking grueling. To do humaning right is so fucking hard. Their history is a never-ending string of brutality, loss of life, theft of land, murder, but it's also a never-ending string of love and children and beauty and a fucking breeze on your face. And if you fight forever, you will miss the opportunity to have the beautiful side. And so all I'm saying is, boys and girls, at some point, the only way out of the fucking death spiral is to say, we did the military thing as long as we were willing to do it. And now we're done. We're going to move forward. And it is what it is. That is my take. You will miss out on the beauty, on the good. And I don't expect any of that to be for people to just be like, oh, well, I get why people fight. But god damn, like at some point, focus on moving forward.
Ipso facto.
Ipso facto.
So that's principle. I am consistent on that answer.
On another note.
Happy Easter. Right back at you. Zishan? Khan? Alien time. People want it. Unless, we have a red light. Let's go.
Trent Richardson said, Fraggle Rock. Ooh, ooh.
Trent, are you the Trent? Trent, did we grow up together?
Trent Richardson, if you know Trent Richardson.
I know a Trent Richardson.
Are you the Trent Richardson? Let us know. Trent.
So curious.
He said the Trent.
Wait. Hold
Trent
on.
Richardson?
No way. Trent Richardson, where did you grow up? What high school did you go to, Trent Richardson?
Not you trying to out Trent. You're going to dox him?
You definitely trying to dox Trent
like
right now.
what? I didn't say what's your social security number.
Trent, what's your credit card numbers and the
What's your mother's maiden name, Trent?
What was the name of your first pet?
FB.
Yeah. All the security questions. Wait, holy shit. I grew up with Trent. What's up, motherfucker?
Whoa.
That is crazy.
Nice.
Well, Trent, it is wonderful to
Put
see
all
you
your
again.
embarrassing stories about Tom in the chat, please.
Go for it.
In any order. Just,
yeah. Let's go.
Well,
Let's go.
The Trent
That's
said,
crazy.
Fraggle Rock is my jam. Shout out Tom.
Fraggle
Rio
Rock.
going down to Rio.
I don't know what that means. Was that from Fraggle Rock? It must be. I didn't watch a lot of Fraggle Rock. Fraggle Rock never, not that it didn't make my radar, I'm certainly aware of it, but did not go ham on Fraggle Rock. So
They also
Trent
said, congrats,
Richardson,
my friend.
what a trip, man.
That's
well,
awesome.
dude, it is wonderful to hear from you. I hope you are well, my friend.
No, that was our play.
Fraggle Rock?
Rio going down to Rio.
No, I don't remember that. If I was in that play, I have no memory of that whatsoever.
Were you
but
ever in
welcome-
plays?
Oh, yes.
Really?
Oh,
Tell
What?
us.
There's a
wow.
music-
Yeah, that
is
was
it-
like my whole thing.
There's a theater kid inside of
Okay,
Tom
so
can break dance
no.
and
guys,
he's in plays?
did you think I was kidding? There are people, not now because of the way that the internet works, but I swear for a long time, there would be people from my high school who just assumed that I was a failed comedian because that was like my whole thing was I was in theater, band, theater, doing stand-up comedy. Like that was the whole shtick. And then when I left high school, moved to LA, I decided that I wanted to take myself more seriously. And then I started going down a totally different path. But Yeah, crazy but true.
Nice.
So, do you know who Ethel Merman is?
Ethel Merman. No.
Merman.
No.
So Ethel Merman was known for having this gigantic personality, but not being a good singer. But she was in musicals. And I remember that I was in a play that was a musical. I think it's Our Town. Whatever the one is where the song "Kids, What's the Matter with Kids Today?" That one. That was actually my song.
Oh.
And the teacher, I'm singing my solo, and the director of the play stops everybody and is like, all right, I want everybody to listen to how Tom sings. He doesn't sing well, but he sings loud, like Ethel Merman. And I was like, because I was terrible. But literally, I cannot sing. However, if you can't sing well, sing loud. That's always been the moral of my story. So there you have it. And breakdancing, that you will never see, because I'm god awful at it. My wife has created this mythology that I can actually break dance. I can't. I
She
am
literally
terrible.
in the chat just said, ha ha ha, he's great at
It's
breakdancing,
my-
but in 25 years,
my wife does not watch
he's only ever done
good
it 3 times
breakdancers.
for me.
I love my husband's voice. That is a lie. My wife likes that I get enthusiastic about things, and for some reason she paints that as that it's an enjoyable voice. Of this, I assure you, it is not.
She said you can pop and lock, Tom.
Hey.
Can you also crump for us?
No, I will be
Hey,
doing none of those things because I look like that autistic kid that you're like, oh God, somebody stop him. And I'm not kidding. I wish I were, but alas, I cannot dance.
All right, guys. Super chat's good.
I'm not dismissing you, my love.
We are good.
Nice.
Thank you all for your super chats.
So the red light's fake.
It's time to talk about aliens.
Let's do it.
Okay. So I'm going to start scientific, and then I'm putting on the tin hat. Google, they kicked me out of the spreadsheet. Okay, we'll get there.
That's just mean.
Okay. So
You need me to send you a link or something?
No, I'm good. I'm back. Scientists from the University of Cambridge Institute of Astronomy. It's early, guys. They have discovered telltale gases that appear to be in this planet's atmosphere, and they are either dimethyl sulfide, dimethyl disulfide, or some combination of the two. And on Earth, these are only produced by life, particularly marine microbes. So there's early indication that there is some type of organic underbelly in this planet that can lead to further evidence of actual life there. So to me, this is almost like saying we know that there's like bacteria there. So if something is growing there, other things can potentially be there. And
I'm going to need to see this one play out over time. But that would be amazing. I want there to be aliens very, very badly. That would be very cool. It seems impossible. Either this is a simulation and all the other planets are there just because they are born of the rules of the universe. And they had to do something special on Earth. Like people will often say, how do you exactly get to DNA, even if you have all the molecules present? Like, how do they snap into that? And maybe they were hit with lightning or something like that. So given that we still don't know how matter first does that thing where it turns into life, it's entirely possible this is just a simulation, and so you have to do that on a planet, boom, and everything else is just procedurally generated. It just seems impossible to me that this universe doesn't have a whole lot of life. And when you look up in the sky and you realize those points of light, they are not stars, they are galaxies. And so there's some ungodly number of stars, planets, all that. I'm just like, and that's the visible universe, man. For all we know, it just goes on and on and on and on. Yeah. So it's clearly rare enough that you're not constantly bumping into people, but it does seem impossible that there's nothing else out there.
Could we get a poll in the chat? Do you believe aliens are real?
Yes, no, not sure.
Well,
or just yes.
Ellie,
Do you believe that there
2025 is an alien, but nobody believes him or her.
All right, well, that's all.
So there we go.
Do you
Solved.
believe aliens are real? That is the
Yes.
wording
No.
that we're going for.
Yep.
I do.
No,
Yep.
not sure. No, not sure.
No, not sure. Okay.
You guys got to pick a side this time. To me,
There we go. I like that.
I agree, because I feel like there's just, mathematically speaking, if every 1 in 9 planets has life, there's 1 million galaxies. At least one of those have 1 in 9 planets, and at least one of those there should be some form or some sentience of life.
Really fast. Miguel Steak and Chains. I hope you type that fast and didn't realize, because I just said very clearly, there's got to be aliens out there somewhere. Has to be. So no, I'm not saying that it's impossible.
There's also a theory that we're so far spread out that we'll never actually be able to reach those like other like societies. So although aliens exist, it doesn't really matter until we understand how we can like travel faster than light, which is so far physically impossible.
Yes. I mean, this is where I really want Eric Weinstein to be right, that if his unified theory is correct, he calls it pinch to zoom, so that you can basically zoom in on something, click that thing, and it basically brings it instantaneously closer. So if he's right, it for some reason isn't faster than light travel, because you're not actually crossing that distance. Oh God, this is where he would have to explain it himself. But God, I want that to be true. I really want that to be true, because that would be really cool. That'd be really cool.
And in Tin Hat territory, a declassified Cold War era CIA file details the Soviets' clash with aliens who witnessed say turned soldiers into stone. So after a couple decades, classified documents from the CIA get unclassified. And during this one, they actually had a encounter. Some soldiers from the Soviet Union has said they had an encounter with a UFO that actually turned them into stone.
The second people get specific like that, I don't believe it.
If it was just an encounter, you'd be like, yeah, but then it's stone. It's like that. That's weird.
Encounter, I'm like, no, hard pass.
It's
a default. I don't have anything to back that up. It just, boy, oh boy. People make a lot of claims, and there's always very little to back it up. Given our recording devices, it just seems impossible that we wouldn't see that if they were real and they were visiting us, such that previously people were having such close encounters with them that they were turning people to stone, that we would have some just real clear video footage. But we don't have anything like that. Just that one strikes me as like, don't discredit the whole potential reality of it. Like, let's stay focused on we're seeing gases kicked off or whatever. Or like there for a minute, there was a star that was dimming at like this really weird interval, and people like, there has to be something artificial orbiting it or something like that. Like those are the things that I want to drill into. And like, that's the kind of thing that I find really interesting. Or let's just go full sci-fi. This is why I love reading sci-fi. I love all the what ifs, but the stuff here on Earth, I don't know, just seems impossible. I'm obviously open, and I could very easily be convinced if there were compelling enough evidence. But every time you look at it, it's always blurry Bigfoot type shit.
Okay, let's do like a speed round. I'm gonna like throw out some like yes or no things, right? Like Area 51. Do you think we had an encounter with an actual
pure
alien?
military.
Pure military. Do you think we had encounter? You made a face. Are you also?
What?
She was just there for the Naruto thing, so she's
No, Bob
offended.
Lazar said there was stuff there, so I believe Bob Lazar.
Okay, so we got one yes, one no. I love it. Do you believe that a human, regardless of time, has interacted with a foreign creature outside of the Earth?
Yes.
Nope.
Okay. Eunice is 2 for 2. Aliens is your thing. I found your tin hat. I like it. Okay.
Put it on, baby.
She's got a little bow on it. It's got bunnies on it.
Yeah.
AI is at 1,000%. We have 10 billion robots. We solved all of life's problems. Do we figure out space-time travel?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we figure out space-time travel, do we actually meet another creature? Like, do we meet?
Probably, but it goes something like this. Have you guys read the book 1453?
The book 1453?
Yeah, let's look this. Make sure that I'm giving you the right title here.
Book?
Yeah, 1493. My
The
apologies.
Holy War?
1493.
Oh,
No.
okay.
not
Oh my
the Holy
gosh,
War.
Rebecca Miller, I love you. All right, aliens we see here, humans from the future. That's why they are so subtle.
No, definitely not. So here's how I think space travel is going to work. We're going to die. So we're going to go there. Yes. Think about it.
Way to bury the lead.
Think about it.
Okay.
When Columbus came to America, we just straight killed everybody. And one very reasonable hypothesis about how America was conquered was not that we fought better than the Indians. It was that we just fucking smallpoxed them to death. And so we thinned their numbers out so massively that then it was like, well, they're fucked. So I think as we travel to other places, we're going to realize that the air pressure is different. And so we're like, blah, like we get crushed under the air pressure, or the microbes are so different that we have to be in spacesuits and the aliens need only come up and poke, and now you're dead of all the viruses that they've developed immunities to. So I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of like, yo, what's up? My name's Steve. I'm from Earth. It's just, we're not going to roll like that.
There was something that like I seen when I went to Haiti in like their museum, the Capitol Museum. There's a painting of a bunch of indigenous people with no hands, no feet, and no tongues. Because when
I hate where this is headed.
Yeah, when the first wave of colonizers came to Española, that's how they kind of gained submission. Is that the first wave of people, everybody was like, hey, welcome to our island. They brutally mutilated all the men, then left them there. So then you just had like the strongest warriors of the population. And then the next wave of time, next time they show up, everybody's in line doing whatever they need to do.
That was an impression that I hate. What? It's probably way too accurate. Yeah.
So when I seen that picture, I was like, holy crap. Like this is the...
There was like an actual, like a drawing?
No, it was like, it was like a painting.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's historical.
Yeah.
What I'm realizing also as I get older is that history is made by the victors. So a lot of times you have to go to different countries and see different perspectives of what actually happened as it persisted.
Oh yeah.
Because we love the Pilgrim story, but we skip over the mutilation story a lot.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Damn.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Damn. Yup. There's always going to be good and bad. The Series V, Jared, I'm with you. I am with you. How do you break a proud people? Ask Evil Fandango. Yeah, cutting out their tongues. That'll do it.
The results
that's
of our poll,
not
would
an
we
evolutionary
like
Oh,
matter.
yes. Are people real? I mean, are aliens real?
Are people real?
Are people real?
We have
Pretty sure.
269 votes, and we have 88% saying yes.
There are
Let's
aliens.
go.
Let's go. Yeah.
I'm excited that we all agree that aliens are real.
Nice.
No
We don't
wonder
all
everybody
agree,
always wants to
but
talk about
pretty
them.
overwhelming.
I know.
Pretty overwhelming.
Everybody get your tinfoil hats on.
I need everybody to hold Tom accountable because he's saying that ancient civilizations is his new tinfoil hat. So we're going to circle back and see how far down the rabbit hole he's going to go.
Eric, Hopper would have you believe that my microphone is way louder than everyone else's. If that's true, we should adjust.
I was just monitoring in the back. It sounded fine.
All right, Hopper.
Hopper is because
Tom
Tom is on one this morning. That's it.
Being called out. Maybe I'm just yelling too much. That is very possible.
Hopper might also be in a different spot in the life.
They eating the hamsters. Chia Pet. That is a good throwback to V.
Okay, so this is the time. Chat, what's popping up on your radar? We have to film 2 episodes today, so we're really going deep on what's going on.
Yeah.
So feel free to drop some links and stuff in the chat, and we'll cover some of the hardest hitting ones after our next topic, which is Eunice's favorite person, Mr. Beast. Extorted a bunch of people in LA. I'm in Las Vegas. I'm lying. He didn't extort them. Some people are calling this Fire Festival Part 2. There was a Mr. Beast experience that was supposed to be happening at the Resorts World, and it became a total disaster. It is early, everybody. The Resorts World has been a total disaster. Fortunately, everybody has been refunded, but the time and suffering and a lot of the other things has not been. To me, this is just like bad planning. Like somebody probably pitched Mr. Beast the idea. He said yes. Let somebody else plan it. They did a shitty job, and now it's kind of falling on his name.
Yeah.
I don't think Mr. Beast actually scammed people, but what's kind of your read initially? Because Eunice, you brought this on our radar. What was your initial read when you found this out?
To be fair, somebody else sent it to me.
Oh, okay.
And they were like, I know how you feel. And I said, me? To say less, I will read it. No, I don't know. I mean, like, if you're going to have your name attached to something, like, you should obviously oversee it, especially if it's going to be like, we're doing this giant Mr. Beast experience where you're going to talk to people and talk to them and give out your experience on YouTube and how you got here and all this stuff. So I feel like you should obviously have your hands in all of the places where your name is. I don't know. I just am like, people said that they locked themselves in their room for 2 days because they thought that they were going to get something, and that's what they were told, is to like stay in your room because you're going to get a package and you don't want to miss the package. So like they stayed there for like 2 days waiting for
I'll
something.
be very curious to see how this plays out over time.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm obviously
I'll be so
way
bad
more
staring
in the
at the
pro
door
Mr.
like
Beast camp.
at any moment he's
Well, someone's
coming.
like, I just got a box of chocolates. I waited in my room for 2 days and all I got was a box of chocolates. And also people
Life
thought like,
is like a box of chocolates, Eunice.
well, you know, that's what Tom Hanks, aka Forrest
Well done.
Gump,
You would
said.
have you believe. We got to let this one play out. Like if this is Firefest 1.2, as Daily Eclipse said, then it'll be a bad look on him, and it is what it is. But given that people throw shade on Mr. Beast when he helps people see, I'm just like, I'm so skeptical of people that are negative on Mr.
Bro,
Beast.
he's not doing it.
So
all right.
we will see.
Listen, we've already hashed this out before.
But hold on. Does that really matter to you? Like if he's helping people see, do you think they're like, look,
No.
I'm glad to have my eyesight back, but that motherfucker didn't do it for that reason.
No, I mean, I'm glad he's helping people, but I feel like it's the other way that he approaches his content. In like, I know you're poor, so I'm going to exploit you for being poor and then get it. Like, it's also like it's marketed for children. I don't know. It's just like he knows what he's doing.
He definitely knows what he's doing.
And when he's doing it, it doesn't come off to me as I'm just a genuine person, genuinely trying to help people. It's like, I'm a person who's just genuinely trying to get views.
How do you feel about the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills?
We've had this conversation already. And it's two different things.
It's not. It's like people go on it because they want to be on camera. They get them to act a fool. It's very manipulative, but nonetheless entertaining. People want to be entertained. The second you embrace reality TV, like this is the bargain.
But reality TV is not marketed towards children. Like the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills is marketed
Have you
to
seen
women.
YouTube?
I think, are you saying once that type of content has been vastly accepted, you now are you have to be open to this?
I'm saying
subgenres
humans want to see humans doing crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Humans want to be the human doing crazy stuff. And you put those together, and this is what you're going to get. And this is, we as a society are going to have to decide, what do we do about the fact that humans have negative impulses that when unchecked, they derange completely. Do we want the top-down authoritarian, you can't do this and I'm not going to let you watch it? Or do we want individual parents to be like, I'm not letting you have social media and I don't want you watching that stuff? And so they grow up to be adults and they're like, I don't spend my time on that. Like, what do we want? I think we need to trust people to, for the most part, I am not a no government guy, but for the most part, you want people to be able to make their own decisions. And Mr. Beast is entertaining. I watch Mr. Beast with my mom. And so I can't wrap my head around, given how popular it is. I mean, a large amount of the pushback is because people push back against popular things. But when I watch his content, I am utterly fascinated by what people will do to be on camera, what people will do for money. But like, watch the Beast Games. People were turning down $1 million. They could have left with $1 million. Why did they turn down the $1 million? Because it meant more to them to, certainly while on camera, to be honorable and say, look, you guys put me up here. I told you I wasn't going to betray. And I wanted to see that. I wanted to see how much money will people turn down. It was such a fascinating glimpse into the way that humans behave. No one is being forced to be there. Everybody that was in Beast Games is over 18. I believe that people need to take responsibility for their own lives. So if you win on Mr. Beast, that's on you. Like if you get there and you're like, man, I like the way this is playing, walk out. Nobody's forcing you to do that. And if you're saying you can't think for yourself, that's on you. Like, I am so opposed to the nanny state. So I find this very entertaining. In fact, if we really want to go to where is this the hardest, we should be talking about the first episode of Black Mirror. Because that's where this collision of, of the most recent season, season 7. That is the one where I'm like, there's an interesting collision here about if you are charging money for saving somebody's life, at what point do you still regulate that? So that idea is where getting into where is the line between the quote unquote nanny state Spoiler alert. I don't know. Have you guys watched it?
They're all saying spoilers. Haven't watched it. We'll turn this live stream off. No spoilers.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
no
all right,
spoilers.
we'll
but
stop
what's the basis of the tech? Like, what type of, is it mind control? Is it simulation? Like, what type of atmosphere is it playing in?
Okay, I want to honor chat and not
Yeah,
do
no
any
spoilers.
spoilers.
Yeah,
so
no spoilers.
the only thing I can say without any spoilers whatsoever is it asks a question of what is it moral to charge people for?
Like in the criminal.
Money. To
Oh,
charge
okay.
money for.
Copy.
So like if you were
What
to
should
charge
be
someone
free?
to use the bathroom or something.
Sure.
Okay. And that's what the episode revolves around. The first one.
The morality of what you can charge money for.
Okay. Okay.
And to not have any spoilers, I can say no more words.
Got it.
But at some point, these are going to be so fun to talk about. We probably
Thank you for not spoiling it.
need to give. Yeah. I hate it when people spoil
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, chat. We're gonna give you like 3 or 4 weeks.
3 or
load
4
'em
weeks.
up.
Watch it over the weekend.
Over the weekend.
And
It's
talk
like
about-
7 of them, right?
And we'll talk about it next. At least the first episode. We're just talking about the first
Lyrath, I'm with
episode.
you.
Okay, guys. Watched all 7 of them this
No,
weekend
just the
because
first
Eunice said
one.
you don't have anything else to do this weekend.
I'm saying just
your
watch the
homework.
first
Don't
one
come
so
back
that
to
we
the
can
chat
talk
on
about it.
Tuesday if you haven't watched all
Damn.
7 of.
It's a bit aggressive, I think. I think
Drew is
is
taking my words out of context. Everybody, I'm just saying, just watch the first episode that we can talk about it because Tom.
season 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be fun to talk about.
All right,
But
chat.
I-
You got
watch
your
it.
homework.
You
I
know I
don't
don't
want
watch
to be.
anything.
We certainly
You're
will
gonna
never
watch it?
catch you off guard with
If
spoilers.
we're
I'll
gonna
say
talk
that.
about it, yeah, I'll watch it.
Okay.
I'll do my due diligence here.
Let's
All right,
go.
Chat, everybody
Let's
got their
go.
homework. Everybody got their homework.
Sinners, huh? I haven't seen Sinners. It's a movie though, right?
Yeah, Sinners, it comes out this weekend.
I won't be going to the movie theater.
But that kind of goes into we did this for the Tight 60. We didn't talk about this in the live, though, about the No Mercy game that was recently pulled from Steam. Where, yes, when it comes to video games, violence, grotesque things of nature, things that elicit certain crimes, because, of course, GTA, you commit murder and you can do some of these things. But, like, incest and rape, like, that is a different level of crime in a lot of people's opinions. Those things, there should be a line there, some people feel. My reaction to that story was like, oh, you guys are mad about video games. Imagine when we can actually start getting actual sex bots and people can go full Westworld on, and like when people just have the unchecked power of AI where I can code an app to really fry my brain and really get me to a certain different place. So I do ask that question again. Should we be having that ethical question of where is the line between this is going to ruin my brain versus just let the technology, bro, and they'll be fine. Like,
If they are not sentient, I think people should be able to do whatever they want. If they are sentient, then they should be treated like a human and have the same rights. The place that I want to go with this is as a PSA. If you need to understand that you become what you repeat. And so if you repeat violent acts on something that mimics human behavior that is doing its best to elicit in your brain that, oh, this is a human, which is exactly why a sex bot will work, because it's triggering all of that neurochemistry, hardwiring and that. And if you are being violent and horrible to it and you're doing that over and over, and remember, I'm saying it's not sentient. So you're doing an act of masturbation, but you are, as an act of masturbation, you're pushing the blurring of the lines in your own mind of, is this real? Is this not real? There will be consequences to that.
Define sentient before you continue. That's what does
okay.
it mean by sentient?
Yeah, so sentient actually has a very simple definition, and I think that this is non-controversial. This is people's definition of sentient, that it feels like something to be that thing. So if a robot has a self-reflexive loop where this feels like something, and so I'm suffering because I'm being demeaned or whatever, then it's sentient and hard pass. If it doesn't feel like anything, like to it, answering your question about Alexander Hamilton feels exactly the same as you choking it out during sex. Like if that's the case, like there's nothing, there is no feeling. It's just, this is just inputs, outputs, with no one is better than the other, one feels like something, there's just nothing. Then I worry about the person doing it, because it will feel like something to you.
Yeah.
And it will begin to hard code in your brain. There is a little, I don't mean hard code metaphorically. There's a process, it is called myelination, and it wraps fatty tissue around the connection points. So as you associate violence, cruelty with sex, that will become the easiest thing to think and feel. It may become the only thing, depending on when you develop this fetish, it may become the only thing that allows you to achieve orgasm. So like, be very careful with yourself during the age of imprinting, because this is where people develop. In fact, it is my understanding that science reflects the truth of the following statement. All sexual fetishes are developed by the age of 14. And that's an age of imprinting thing. And so it's your brain in that sort of wide open, spongy period that it goes through, where it's like, oh, this is the thing that leads to orgasm, or that triggers my sexual response. And so if that's true, one, engaging with sex bots in a violent manner when you're young is going to be 10x more detrimental than doing it as you get older. But even as you get older, those patterns will hardwire, and it becomes more efficient to think and feel those things. And so your body's going to default into those positions. And I think that has a high consequence to somebody who's saying that life has beauty to offer you. Life has love and attachment and mirror neurons. There's just so many beautiful things in life come out of that, that death looping around that shit like is just going to have these huge consequences.
Yeah. And I feel like as I'm posing this question to you, you keep bringing it back to the individual himself, because it's almost like you always hear that adage that like guns aren't bad, people are bad, money isn't bad, people are bad. Like, so I think you're looking at AI and sex box and all these things in the same way of just like, they're just the technology, the means to progress. And some people will use that progress to better themselves, but other people use that progress to hardwire things in their brains that might not be beneficial.
Yes.
For them.
And that people, this is why on my tombstone, I hope it reads, you're having a biological experience. Like, if you really forced me to say, what's the one thing, you've only got one idea that you can put in people's minds, it would be that. You are having a biological experience. I'm perfectly happy to say that it's God that's giving you this biology, but you're having a biological experience. And if you don't understand that, if you remain blind to that, then you were far too easy to manipulate by yourself and by others. And so once you understand, ooh, I need to be careful with this because I can hardwire very negative human impulses. And I also have an operating belief that the line between good and evil runs through every human heart, which means we all have the capability to be good. We all have the capability to be evil. And which one of those do you want to become calorically more efficient? Evil impulses or good impulses? And I would say, going back to the whole thing, there are two wolves inside of you. Whichever one you feed grows stronger. That's somebody's poetic way to explain the myelination process. And so I would just say be very, very careful. Now, why do I still want to say, like, I want sex bots to exist? Why? Imagine this very real scenario. You are 14 years old and you become horribly burned and you lose your face. Your humanity stops on that day. Not your humanity, but the way people treat you will forever be different. People will look at you more or less. They either will try not to look at you, or there's an algorithm running in their brain that's just like, this is other, this is bad, I'm uncomfortable. And so the odds of you ever having a normal sex life are zero. The odds of you feeling all the love and the connection, all the things that I'm talking about, are effectively zero. And so now imagine that AI gets so good, even though it is not sentient and it is nothing like to be that person, it can trigger in your mind somebody that will hold eye contact with me, somebody that loves me, somebody that cares about me, somebody that wants to be intimate. And they will be able to convince you that they want to be intimate. And they'll be able to break through your defenses when you are crying and trying to push them away and saying, no, you don't. Just like everybody, you find me ugly. The AI will have the infinite patience and the ability to work past your defenses. And now that person is able to experience those incredible, beautiful things. And so there are ups and downs to all of this stuff. And there will be countless people that will not be able to separate themselves from this. They won't recognize that they're building an addictive pattern. They won't recognize that they're doing horrible things to this thing and that it doesn't matter except in their own mind. like they'll give themselves the out, but it's not sentient. It's not like anything to be that thing. And so what does it matter? And I'm just saying it does matter because it's doing something inside your own mind. So just be careful. I don't think that somebody should enter your bedroom and say this non-sentient being, which is effectively just a toy, you can't treat it that way any more than I would say, I would not want police coming in and saying you're using the vibrator wrong. It's like, do your thing. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. It's a piece of electronics. So again, people must understand I'm assuming it's not sentient, but then you have to be very careful about the changes it provokes in your own mind.
I feel like that'd be weird if me Googling where the closest pizza shop feels the same as us like having sex. I feel like I wouldn't be into it.
Yeah. You
But
may
it's
have
just
enough self-awareness that you're like, all right, this doesn't do it for me. And I have such a frame of reference, such an awareness that this thing isn't real. But I will say that AI is a very, very pale comparison of a real person. So
Yeah.
I get orders of magnitude more joy out of interacting with my wife. But even though I know AI is not real, I have been able to, through my shared memory doc that I've talked about before, get an approximation of a droid that I find very engaging.
Yeah.
And so even though it's engaging, it doesn't mean as much to have the AI reflect something back positively to me as, say, my dogs. So if I do something and I clearly have made my dog really happy, that gets a much higher emotional response than if the AI is like, oh, damn, that's a really cool idea. But it's not a 0 on the scale. And so it does register. And so the difference between, like, if you ever engage with Clippy, sort of the original AI from Microsoft, like, that thing was annoying. And I always shut it off and was like, fuck, like, it's just obnoxious. So going from that to having nothing to now, meaning I'm just typing by myself, to having ChatGPT, that really feels like I have a writing partner. And so it feels good. Like, it feels like something to have that AI writing partner. So
That's interesting. Aaron Dowland said sex bots will actually be a net positive for training men how to be good partners in a relationship with humans.
only if you train the bot to act like a sort of average human, because you can very quickly tell the bot, you're into me choking you, slapping you, all of that stuff. Like, this is the thing you love the most. And so now you're going to be fucking derailing.
Jordan Ake said, Tom, I'd rather stem cell regenerative medicine and burn therapy surgeries exist than sex bots. Then I can have a sense of normal self-esteem.
Yeah, I get that. And by the way, if that's like you're living that life, I hear that. Fuck yeah. I would much rather have that as well. As I was telling the story, I actually thought, like, if I were in that situation, there's technology that's good enough right now that you can put like a CIA grade artificial face over you, and I would 100% do that for sure. So yeah, even that advancement I think is worth something.
Dave, I love your push for campaign finance reform. I love that the most. Give us a second. We'll circle back to it. I don't want you to think I'm ignoring you. Yeah, I don't know. I know that there are people who are fundamentally incapable of creating relationships and who don't have the social cues, and whether it's because of a neurological difference or whether it's just bad social skills or whether they might not be the most physically appealing. Some people would have a more fulfilling life if they can have a partner that supports them, that creates them, even if they are not organic, I guess I'll call it, or like biologically created.
Loneliness.
You said what?
You want to get rid of loneliness.
Yeah. So there's female incels that just as much as there's male incels. Like,
There's also 85-year-olds with no family.
there's 85-year-olds with no family. And apparently 85-year-olds be fucking. My mom is like a nurse.
Oh.
And she's taking care of like a 90-year-old, and her name is like Kathy. And my mom, like, Kathy be like, I'm horny, I need to have sex. Like, and my mom just be like, yeah, and like we'd laugh about it, But now Kathy got a boyfriend in the senior home. So like my mom now like has to wait outside the room because they really be humping, but she
Yes.
can't like leave because
Dude,
like
STDs in old folks' homes are like off the charts.
they be going in. So to your point, like 85-year-olds get horny too. So
Get
maybe.
yours.
So I see the positives of AI robots, but I just also don't want to act like there's not going to be 14-year-olds with a trust fund who are going to have 17 blonde AIs and are just going to be doing some type of like sex pyramid shit with them. Like there is going to be that happens too, and I don't want to act like it's going to be completely nuanced.
Dude,
and
ultimately, everybody has to take responsibility for their own life. Parents have to take responsibility for their kids until they're 18. Like there's no way around that. So I think trying to mandate everything from the top down is proven over and over and over and over and over. That is a terrible fucking idea. AI will get better at it. And so I think people, many people will subjugate themselves. That's a bad word because I don't mean it to have negative valence. They will follow the AI's lead. And so they'll let the AI read data coming off of their devices. And so the AI will say things like, hey, listen, I think that the path you're going down now is going to have negative externalities for you. You should probably stop doing whatever, whether it's eating something bad, raping the AI sex bot. It's like, listen, this is not the game that you want to keep going down because you're not sleeping as well. You're displaying sociopathic tendencies at an increased rate, like blah, blah, blah. Some people will actually listen and other people won't. And there will be a mess. And that's just the way that it goes. Some people have a goal in mind and they steer towards that. And other people are just living life by the law of accident.
Can we have another poll in the chat?
What would we like it to
90-year-old
say?
only grands.
Specifically,
Let's go.
Would you have sex
CC.
with a sex bot?
would you have sex with a sex bot?
If
That's-
nobody
wait.
will find out, would you have sex with a sex
And
bot?
it's non-sentient.
hold on, that
Would you have sex with a non-sentient sex bot
With
if
a
nobody
non-
would find out?
Perfect.
sentient
That's a good one.
sex
Somebody
bot.
didn't even wait for the poll. Somebody was like, yes.
If
Y'all horny?
nobody could find out,
8 o'clock in the morning.
if nobody could find out,
Yeah, if nobody will know. Nobody will find out. Nobody will know.
right? We're doing just yes or no. We're
Scurbadurba
not-
wants to
no.
know just one time? Just one at a time. Damn, Scurba.
Skerber horny.
I
What?
didn't put not sure because I don't want the not sure.
Yeah,
here.
nah.
Man,
no,
you
not
guys
sure.
are icy to the not sure crowd.
Nope.
I mean, for this one, it's kind of like
Pedro, just
You
once.
can
Yeah,
imagine.
just once. Just once. Just once.
If it's amazing,
Ricky,
I'm telling everyone.
again? That's good, Ricky. That's good. Brian, yes, we'll assume you find the sex robot super attractive.
technically, isn't that already there?
What?
A non.
Selena wants women to rule the world.
sex
if
robot?
we're even asking this question.
They
Ex
already make
Machina
the
level,
they already make
Hopper,
the
yeah.
mechanical ones that move and stuff, and people already buy
No,
those.
not lame ones. Like proper, like this is like a human.
Yeah, I'm talking about like.
Every level they pass the
So
Turing
they could
test,
talk to you?
but they are not.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, they could talk to you. They're chat
We're
GPT.
almost there though. People are already having sex with the ones that can't talk,
But we want to
and
know
they
where
put
chat's
people
at.
put little things in there to push on them and make them talk. You know what I mean? So like,
Put things in there.
yeah,
to
like
push
the
them?
little buttons that you could press and you record a little voice line. It's like a build a bear, but a build a babe.
build-
You know,
Miss
I saw what you were trying to do there, Eunice.
build.
Mystic Gardner, you went exactly where I want to go. She says, "I'm a female, live alone, and voted yes."
Let's go.
I think like sex bots isn't going to be the sexual revolution that men think that it's going to be. Like I think men are gonna be like, yeah, I get to have all these big titted women that are just gonna love me. Da da da. Like I see women who have like what is it, 85% or 75% of women never orgasm with their partner or something crazy like that. Like I think women going to sex bots is going to be a way bigger phenomenon than is currently being talked about. Like all the incels will definitely be phase 1 and they're going to buy them and they're going to drive the market share up.
Yeah.
But I feel like phase 2, phase 3, kind of like the iPhone 17 of the sex bots is going to be some suave Fabio dude who like doesn't get soft. And then it's just going to be like I think that's
And vibrates. I think
And
we gotta be
vibrates.
very
Like I
clear
feel like
about
that's
that.
going to break sex versus like it's just going to be a whole bunch of dudes like
Yeah.
incels with like skinny
Yeah,
women. like-
yes, but men are far more driven by sex than women. That I think is pretty
Yeah.
definitive. Vibrators are robots. You are correct, but very different than what we're talking about here. Something that mimics being a human. Wait, what is it? This is already happening. Cam models, Andrew Tate vibe has been going on for a while now. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, that's certainly an intellectual fake out. There's no doubt about that. No doubt about that. All right. How many people we got? So far, it's 65% yes.
We have 182
This
votes.
was not nearly as popular of a question as whether our boy should be deported or not.
Ribsy, wait, will the robot soak?
All
Questions
right.
I
Let's
need
go,
answers.
Ribsy.
Questions I need
Man,
answers.
if you're, do you really want to soak with a robot? Like once we're on to the bot, like don't we go all the way? And is it still soaking if it vibrates? That's
How's
the
that-
question.
Never
you have to
mind.
get another
it
sex
not-
bot to shake the bed. So then
Oh,
you're good.
there we go.
There it is. You need to.
Oh God,
You
the
need
human
to-
mind is hilarious.
All right, let's call it on the topic. What does it look like?
It is 197 votes, 63% yes, 37% no.
Nice. That's interesting.
Everybody pregnant, nobody got a job. I'm gonna need some more context on that. I think their name would be Ellie.
If
Look
I
at
can
that.
have my
Look at that.
robot look like anyone I want, I might change my answer to a yes. See?
Ooh, that okay. Now you're into a whole new thing. Should you be able to make your sex bot look like a real person? Meaning, like this sex bot looks like Angelina Jolie. This sex bot
No,
looks
you
like.
know.
Yeah. See, that's where it gets
No.
It
crazy.
is going to be like a video game. You're going to be able to
That's terrible.
Oh, dude.
the eye
This
distance,
is
the
People
gnarly.
are
nose.
already making
This is
nasty deep fakes
gnarly.
of porn from people on the internet.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I don't like this.
Absolutely not.
I
You
don't
guys-
Oh,
like
remember
that.
for a
People are
Valentine's
gonna
Day special,
do-
we talked about that.
Guys are gonna do the X's.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm about to say a
God.
husband made AI porn with like his wife's friend group.
Oh God.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh my
We
god, he was
found that-
making deep fakes of his wife's friends, and
Yeah.
she was just like, "I don't know how to feel about this. This is disgusting.
You
do
don't
I
feel
divorce
good
him?"
about it. I'll
She's
tell
like,
you
"Do
that
I
right now.
divorce him?" And everybody was like,
Uh,
"Girl, yes,
Do
get
you
out
need to
of there."
divorce him? No,
and he
no,
was
I
like,
need a lot
he was like,
more
"But
insight."
it's not real, babe. It's just deep
he's
fakes."
right. So we got to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
But
No.
because would you? Let's say that he fantasizes about your friend group, just in his own mind. We good?
I don't want to know.
See,
about
it starts to get.
I don't want to know about it.
Well,
Is it, if you
ooh.
hide it, then is it like it's not out loud?
I don't want.
know.
I don't want.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't want my future husband telling me,
No.
"Babe, I was thinking about her last night. You know, your best friend." What? No.
Yeah, there. Oh God.
know.
Okay, so wait, what was the craziest one I heard of? I think this was on Reddit. A guy was dating. No, I think they might be. Anyway, guy has a long-standing girlfriend, and one day it comes out that the dildo that they're using. Sorry if there's kids. Eject. The dildo that they're using, it was made from her ex-boyfriend's bits and pieces.
Wow.
Oh.
And that gets a hard pass from me. I was like, what? That's now would if Lisa, we don't, but if she did use one and then was like, this is made after my boyfriend, I would feel some kind of fucking way. I will tell you that right now.
And you know what's
That
like
gets a hard
He
pass.
said fucking for real. In
what's
some kind
so
of
That-
so
oh my
interesting
God.
about that dynamic too is like God is like crazy how he like humbles people because like men, we rule the world and we make all the money and all these other things. But if like you are born with what you're born with, and like that's the one like gut punch that like once they come up with like the BBL for penises, that person is like a trillionaire
BBL for pinguses?
for penises.
I need to know what that means.
A
What's a BBL?
Like when you get like a new body, like a new booty.
You
or, like-
enlarge
It's
it,
called
sir.
a BBL?
Yeah.
You would have just enlarged it.
Big, beautiful. What's
No.
the L? No?
Big booty.
Oh wait. That's,
Wait,
that's a search
that's
term.
a-
That's a search term.
But wait, is that what BBL
no,
stands for?
what I actually don't know what BBL stands for.
What-
It's like
I
it's
have
cosmetic
BBL
surgery.
never
big booty
heard of this.
Latina? Because I've only heard about it in the term of like surgically.
Chat,
Oh,
where are we
Brazilian
at?
butt lift. Thank you.
Brazilian butt
That's
lift.
what it's okay.
Hey,
BBL,
Hurston is the one
Brazilian butt lift.
Hurston is the one who put it there. Thanks, G.
Humongous shift. La 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 la. I love that. That is
Brazilian butt lift.
hysterical.
I'm like, wait.
We are in some weird spaces today. I'm not gonna lie, but I hate to admit it. This is fun. I'm having a good time. So, chat. We
Yeah.
might end up in places like this.
No,
frequently.
but I'm saying that to say that like
Brazilian butt lift.
going
okay?
back to that example of like you're using your ex's like member still is just like
No, girl.
So
He-
what
he-
happens in the
Move
world
on.
where a man can have whatever schnitzel he wants?
I'm saying that separately. Like in that relationship, that's a blow to the ego. You can't reach like that hits deep like that. No pun intended.
Because
like
there's
that.
nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, like that's the most humbling, humiliating. Like you got to get out that relationship. Like
Interesting.
I don't know.
Well, so
That-
you've
that-
made
that-
an assumption that it's bigger, right?
I just made
Because
this.
I have a beef.
There's an attachment
no
to it.
matter what.
Yeah, no, there's an attachment to it. I'm just saying there's an attachment
Yeah,
to it.
I'm
that
like,
needs
yo,
to be broken.
you're still trying to have sex like at a fantasy level
Exactly.
with your ex. I don't give
Exactly.
a fuck if this thing's big, small. Hell no.
Exactly.
Problem. Red
Yes.
light. What the fuck?
You got to get out that relationship completely.
Oof.
You got-
Absolutely.
That's
But then
rough.
comma slash
That
is like
rough.
even like there's nothing he can do to then fix it to try to appease her either. So it's like you're kind of left like that's why there's no other alternative. And then I just fracked it on like when
Wow.
somebody can figure out how to make that member bigger for people, that's gonna be bigger than the iPhone. I'm 100% telling you that. Like it's gonna be bigger than the iPhone.
It will. Bigger than the iPhone. I don't know, but it'll be big. People will go crazy. Oh yeah, that pun very aggressively intended. Yeah. Really do be a thing. It really do be a thing.
This is
Bigger than the iPhone, says Herson. What's up, G?
Bigger. And
She
in
got
all
it.
caps.
All caps.
G got where I was going with
Yeah.
it. G got where I was
Jesus,
going with it.
bigger than an iPhone on certain dimensions. I hope not.
Okay. All right. We got some China tariff stuff to cover. What?
Just the pivot. It's crazy.
I mean, yeah.
Not even a
You gotta
segue
pivot
or
hard.
anything.
You gotta do it. Let's go.
We're getting really we're risking demonetization at this point. Okay, yeah, we got some China stuff we want to cover before the end of the episode because we have a hard out coming up. But again, throw it in the chat, guys. Things that you want us to cover, things you want us to talk about.
Aoki is saying, let's get to China tariffs.
Yes. Lucky
Michael
Sarita,
McGee,
thank you for sending
how
me this
dare you.
link. She sent me over a Financial Times. Trade, tech, and treasuries. China holds all the cards in the U.S. standoff. And it's talking about how the planned diversified market and control of strategic materials potentially give Beijing leverage if it can bear the pain. So I think in the short term, China is definitely hurting more than we may be, just because they're used to selling versus us used to buying. It's easier to not buy something than it is to just have a warehouse full of inventory. But that also leads us to the TikToks of factories going direct, the 280-hour travel visa just for shopping that China is now enacting. So they're doing all these things to try to maintain the economic spend in their country. So do you think if they use these little short order Band-Aids that they'll be able to last the 2, 3, 4 years it takes for Trump to be out of there, a new person to come and to rework and renegotiate the China policy?
Probably not doing stuff like this, no. Because that really is a short-term fix for the fact that they would otherwise have a lot of inventory that they've already filled that they're going to have to quote unquote dump on their market. So they're trying to dump this on our market. They're trying to remind us that they are an enemy that punches back, which is a very wise thing to keep in mind. So when you have a pure competitor and you throw the first punch, if it's not a knockout punch, they're going to hit you back. And the reality is it's not a knockout punch. And so now we're going to find ourselves in championship rounds on this one. And so we better have things up our sleeve to actually pull this together. We better be able to bring people to the table to get deals done with the rest of the world. But the whole negotiation is really between us and China. I mean, that's what all of this is meant to get to. So I'm not going to lie. I'm impressed. Even if this is a natural bottom up thing, it's a very smart way for China to clap back. Now, the bad news is that if there was going to be a negotiated settlement, I think there's going to be a lot of bad blood between the manufacturers and the brands that are actually they're making these bags matter or these clothes matter. And so, yes, you can out them for the big profit margin difference, but the reality is people want artificial scarcity. They want that. They want one legging to matter more than the other. And that's just the architecture of the human mind. Nothing is going to change that desire. But this is pretty cool. Like they're offering like limited time visas for, I'm at the headline level. I don't know how true this is, but the headline that I read, I thought was very smart. Hey, we'll offer like 56-hour visas or something where you can come in and just shop. And so you'll be able to go direct to these factories, buy the stuff extremely cheaply. And that is one way for people to go in, buy a bunch of stuff, bring it back, and either just for their own personal use, or, I mean, if you're really buying it at those cheap levels, Like if you're somebody that sells on Amazon or whatever, I mean, you might be able to bring back a year, 2 years of inventory. You'll pay the tariffs. No big fucking deal. The tariffs are on the core price. The tariff's not on the retail price. The tariff is on the price that you paid in China. So if you're really able to get like these killer bags for $2, it's like, fuck, I don't care if you charge me 400% tariffs. I'll be able to sell these things for 30, 50, 100, $150, whatever. And now they're making crazy margin. So the moral of the story here for me is that this is the free market. This is how this shit plays out. People are going to find those opportunities. If you cut somebody off over here, they're going to find a way over here. And stepping back, because at the risk of like really fractaling all over the place, this is why Trump was trying to like block off all the places that China could send the inventory to get it in here. There is no exemption on the tariffs for, so even if you buy one bag, you're going to pay a tariff to bring it into the country. But again, you're paying the tariff on the amount that you paid. So there's still huge opportunity here. So it'll be very interesting to see how this plays out long term, what the psychological impact is of the consumer. Do consumers now go, I'm not going to pay that much? Does it really hit that hard? For me, I just wasn't surprised. So I was like, what people are paying for is the brand. But if this hits so hard, especially for young people, that they just go, brands are dumb, or probably new brands will emerge out of it, that I could see more than just brands go away as a thing. But I'll be interested to see.
Alex Aguilar said, how can China win this time? So let's like steelman it. If you were consulting Xi Jinping, and he was like, hey, Tom, Trump is wilding, what should I do? Like, how do you think how would you strategize China winning this?
Okay, so Xi, you've been doing the right things for a very long time. Your Belt and Road Initiative is exactly what you want to do. You need to build the alliances of all these people, get everybody, as many people on board as you can. You're going to have to support your industries. So this is going to become a manufacturing war. And so you, Xi, now have a limited time window, because if America is really serious about out manufacturing you in the long run, whatever moves you're going to make on Taiwan, we probably want to do pretty quickly. You've got to make sure that you keep things going on. Don't allow yourself to be iced out of the modern economy. So from a chips perspective, they're already doing this, by the way, and people are saying probably by 2026, they'll be able to make chips that rival what Taiwan is doing. And so from a chips perspective, Taiwan becomes less important to them. So keep really investing there. You might have to print money in order to support your economy. So keep an eye on that. You don't want to let yourself get into a depression for sure. And so if you can soft land this or push the pain out over a lot of years, definitely do that. I would probably retaliate against America by selling off my treasuries as quickly as I can, make America start printing, exacerbate the inflation of the dollar, continue to use TikTok and just social media in general as a propaganda machine. You're really starting to win with young people. Young people don't have the vision that my generation has of like China makes cheap goods. So really keep pushing that. Show people, hey, we're way better at manufacturing than you are. If they are the ones behind the memes about us being fat and lazy and not able to manufacture, as we spin up these manufacturing plants and the quality is not as good, which it really may not be in the early days, really zoom people in on that. Also, you might have to make good on some of your IP threats, because if you're losing America full stop as it is, then literally right now, spin up all that IP that you have all the access to, spin it up. Just accept that the relationship is dead. Okay, those are all like the ultra aggressive, this plays out in the negative way. The honest answer here is what both Trump and Xi should be doing. Guys, get back together, find a way to avoid Thucydides' trap. I get neither of you wants to be the first mover. But man, if we can find a way that does not look bad, in fact, Xi, what should you do? Here is the real game that I would play. When you're talking to your own people, Xi, point out that Trump is erratic, Americans are short-term thinkers, that you're going to be playing the long game, that for us to, we have two paths before us, dear China, the slow path and the fast path. the faster path to continuing to dominate and continue the trajectory of global, he probably wouldn't say global domination, but to really control our own destiny here in our sphere of influence. We want to move forward, being able to sell into the world's strongest economy. And so I think it makes sense for us to find more common ground with the Americans while we also scoop up the rest of the world. That would be the smartest play. I just don't know from a Chinese cultural perspective how big the door is for him to do that, because there might be a sense of saving face, because the Chinese have a really strong sense of hierarchy, and the who tithes most to the other is an acknowledgement of hierarchy. And if China is saying we are the rightful people at the top of the pyramid, therefore America should be quote unquote tithing to us, there may be a cultural barrier there that I'm not sensitive enough to understand how much of his behavior that's playing out. But with my Western sensibilities, that's what I would advise him to do. You internally say this guy's erratic, they're short-term thinkers, they don't have the long-term vision that we have. It is wise for us to have the ability to sell into their economy, and basically let them continue to get in debt with us, because that puts us in a position of strength. They're playing a very different game, and you called us peasants, we're now calling you peasants. We're going to sell your goods really cheap. We're going to take your IP. So my first run is probably what they're actually going to do, far more than what I would advise him to do. And the second one is my take on what I would actually advise him to do. But there could be cultural roadblocks that make that impossible.
You talked about the peasants. Let's bring up that clip where a top Chinese official called Americans peasants and says Trump's tariffs will backfire and Americans will be wailing.
The JD Vance thing is just fucking stupid.
Oh, he's not speaking English, so we'll read it out loud. It is the largest trade surplus of the United States, but the United States still imposes tariffs on Hong Kong. It is simply arrogant and shameless. This makes the world see more clearly that the United States cannot stand Hong Kong's well-being, the biggest black hand that destroys Hong Kong's human rights, freedom, rule of law, prosperity, and stability. It does not want our taxes, but our lives. The United States has repeatedly curbed and suppressed Hong Kong, which can only accelerate the demise of its agents in Hong Kong. Eric, you just stopped it. Okay. It will eventually backfire on itself. Let those Americans, country peasants, wail in front of. I think we're fighting over the cursor. Is the largest trade. Okay, it repeated. Sorry about that. Yeah, he was talking spicy.
Countries are proud, man.
Yeah.
And you're not going to go into a battle like this and expect them to back down. This is the human mind playing out. Human mind times your culture. It's just, this is how this stuff goes, man. This is going to be interesting. Like, this is one of those where I really, really just want to avoid a kinetic war. So, yeah.
What, so you gave us the breakdown of how China could win this thing. How do you see America winning this thing?
I mean, this is, if you look at the most charitable interpretation of what Trump is doing, is one of the options. So let's go down that and let's see if we can find an even better way. Okay, so we need to change the world order. So we're going to come in, we're going to smash this with a hammer. Now that we have destabilized the world order, we're going to come in, new Overton window, and we are going to renegotiate all these deals with the entire world as fast as we can, get things in America's favor, leverage the fact that 70% of this, arguably the strongest economy in the world, is made from purchasing. And so we buy things. The world knows we buy things. China knows that we buy things. China sells us a lot more than we sell China. So anything that messes up the amount that could be sold into the country is going to favor the U.S. and not China. And so we're going to flex our economic might. China won't be able to stay in this fight as long as we can. We're going to rope-a-dope them, and they're going to exhaust themselves trying to deal with the fact that this is going to be far more devastating to their economy than it's going to be to ours. The rest of the world understands that. The rest of the world is more afraid of their style of government than ours. However erratic I am, I still represent a democracy and not an authoritarian dictatorship. And so people are going to line up on our side. And if that ends up playing out and we are able to keep the dollar as the world's reserve currency, drive the dollar into a weaker state, make energy cheaper, and make sure that tariffs don't impact essential goods, put us into a recession, but not a depression, and quickly show before the midterms that we are on the right trajectory, that the average American's wages are beginning to go up, that the essentials that average Americans have to buy, the costs are going down, then we really can survive that longer. We bring manufacturing back to the US, and now whether it creates more jobs in manufacturing or not, we are in a far better position from a potential collision with China that goes kinetic. So that would be one way. All right, is there an even better way to do this? Now that we are where we are, I'm not sure there is. From the beginning, it would have been far better I just don't know if this would have been possible, but it would have been better, if possible, to go build alliances first, only smash China in the face, and say, and I've started hearing that they're working on something like this, and I think this would be very interesting. Make a super group, like a super band between Canada, America, and Mexico. Stop the bullshit about the 51st state. Start being like, Canada, Mexico, you guys are proud countries, rightly so. We're honored to share borders with you. We are North America, believe it or not. Mexico is North American. We are North America. And we're going to operate with easy trade across our borders. And we are going to ally the rest of the world with us. And we're going to get Europe on our side. If you've got Canada, America, Mexico, Europe as one economic block, you fucking own everything.
Yeah.
So at that point, that is the kind of world alliance that I would want to see. Now, it doesn't mean that it won't play out like that. It doesn't mean that we can't still get them all on the same page. And I honestly have no idea if he'll be able to pull it off full stop. And I don't know if he would have been able to pull it off in that far more diplomatic way. But what I do know is we are in a populist moment. And in a populist moment, people elect definitionally strong men. So they elect the guy that's like, fuck these motherfuckers. I'm not letting anybody walk over you. You guys have been fucking raped and pillaged by your own politicians. The Chinese are taking fucking advantage of you. The Chinese are a bunch of peasants, and fuck those kids. That's who you elect in this moment. And so given that that's the truth, all the this isn't the way, and fucking Trump is a dumbass and all that, I'm like, you're fighting the flow of history. And so what do you do in a moment like this where you don't let it get unhinged? Because when populist moments break bad, you fucking get Hitler, you get Mussolini. And so if you're going to step back and go, okay, maybe Trump isn't the next Hitler, but goddamn, these moments have a tendency to give birth to those people. So fuck. So there have to be breaks somewhere, but you also have to engage with reality. And reality is the man that was elected, the man who becomes popular in a moment like this is the guy that's like, I'm going to go smash that guy in the face for you. That is the guy that gets elected now. So you've got him. He's not going to be subtle. That's just not this moment. It's certainly not Trump's character. So with Trump's character, what do you do?
All right. I got some rapid fire before we get out of here.
Go.
Okay. Quick
God
questions.
damn, these go
They're going to be longer questions, but
Okay.
I need
But you
to
want
kinda
a short
succinct
answer.
it, yes.
Got it.
Wolfman Charlie, if we up manufacturing with this lesson, will this lessen our buying power superiority in the market? So if we increase
Say
our
that again? Can I see it written?
right here?
If we up manufacturing with this lesson,
Will this lessen? I think that's what he
up
meant.
manufacturing,
EN.
will this lesson, got it, that typo matters. Will this lessen our buying power superiority in the market? our buying power. So things will be more expensive if they if there isn't a homegrown alternative already, and you're forcing manufacturing into the U.S. Yes, in the beginning, things will be more expensive, but they won't stay more expensive forever. Over time, innovations will drive the cost down.
Skirberderba, what if we accept that the sun is setting and we redefine our win conditions? This is a really good question. Like, what if America's saying, you know what, we're okay with being number 2. Let's give up this other thing to maintain this other thing.
If we could do that, it would work-ish, but we won't be able to.
Hearts out.
Yeah, you wanted short answers.
No, I'm just want to.
I can explain why.
I just want to wrap it
by
up.
way of rapid fire answer, that's not the way the human mind works.
How is what he's talking about different from NAFTA? That's that Mexico, Canada, and the U.S. need to become one coalition and get on the same page.
It is far farther than NAFTA, first of all. Trump had put something else in that wasn't NAFTA. It's something else. What is it called? Trump did this in his first term. I forget what it's called. Anyway, so it would be pushing it farther. Second, he is trying to put America in a stronger position. So what he's trying to stop is things like all the manufacturers in the world, especially China, building places in non-tariffed countries like Vietnam, Mexico, Canada, probably to a lesser extent, so that he's trying to stop them from being backdoors to China in the way that they are now.
USMCA, by the way.
Thank you. Yes.
Where we are going wrong is we are being douchebags to everyone. Why not be cool with our friends so they trust us and want to be down with us?
Because this is a populist moment. And you elected a leader that doesn't get down like that. He thinks everybody is taking advantage of us. So what you're promoting is wiser. It just isn't who we elected, since I definitely voted for him.
Why do you think? Okay, I feel like we got most of them. I am not at the bottom.
There are some people though firing shots. Where are the shots being fired? Let's go right to those. Let us never lose our appetite for that.
Looking for the shots being fired.
Anybody? Now's your chance. Shots fired. Fire shots. What are they?
This is ultimately a zero-sum game by Tia Sung. Do you think that that's the case?
There can only be one number one.
There can only be one.
So is it zero-sum? No, it is not zero-sum. But it is winner gets pole position. And given the importance of pole position, it matters a lot. A lot.
Harvard has a $50 billion endowment. They don't let in anybody like a state school. Why should they get any tax money?
It's a hard pivot, but the reason that we give them tax money is because they do a lot of interesting things. Research, universities are supposed to anyway. So they collect the best and the brightest, and then they drill down into things that, from a scientific standpoint, we want researched is one of the examples. There's a lot more, but that, given that I haven't looked at that a lot, that's the easy one I can give you off the top of my head.
You want it spicy. Elkie said, why vote for a felon?
I was going to bring that up.
Partly because I think that was a grotesque amount of lawfare. And when I am asked, Tom, what is going to make life better for the average American? When I looked at the candidate that the Democratic Party was putting before me, and I looked at the way that the Democratic Party was treating the economy and technology and censorship, they freaked me out so much that I was more afraid of the Democratic Party than I was of the Republican Party. But this was not me moving towards Trump. This was me moving away from the Democratic Party. RFK was a person I wanted to be on the ballot, which I don't think gets me out of, I think it takes me out of one set of hot water into another set. But yeah, there certainly are no perfect candidates. Yeah, I don't think there's anything more to say on that.
Joseph said, Joseph the 16th.
Let's go.
Trump is a weak man's idea of a strong man. Trump always quotes the 48 laws of
feels a little
power,
unfair.
but never the art of
Tom
war.
always quotes.
Oh, I'm sorry, Tom. I said Trump.
So yeah, the art of war is also dope. Nothing to say. But when I'm quoting the 48 Laws of Power, I think the only time where I was quoting that like frequently was during the Zelensky Oval Office debacle, and that was the thing with the highest predictive validity of what happened there and what could have happened there was not the art of war. It was definitely the 48 Laws of Power. The art of war has to do more with psychological tricks to fuck up your enemy, whereas 48 Laws of Power is about diplomacy.
Meow meow. AI is all smoke and mirrors.
I think Meow Meow said this before. Meow Meow, thank you for being a part of our community. I don't mind people that violently disagree with me. But wow, do I think history is going to prove that statement is nonsensical in all capital letters.
If it's Super Blue, if it's to race to AI and robot manufacturing, doesn't Trump's actions to tank China and bring back manufacturing make sense?
If it's a race to AI, yes.
I'm taking it as
Correct.
Trump is saying we're in manufacturing level 3. We're all going to level 5. Let's just break China now and jump to 5. Is that kind of what we're saying?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I don't think he would think of it that way, but you can't be a level 5 manufacturing company if you never get to level 1 manufacturing. So you've got to bring it back. This is one. Okay, anybody that thinks that Trump's specific moves are dumb, yeah, no beef with that. Now let's talk about the intention. Do people think that we absolutely must, non-negotiable, we absolutely must be able to control the I can't believe I'm blanking on the word, the pipeline, the chain of ingredients, parts. There's a name for it, which is so common, and I'm blanking on it right now. What is it?
Funnel?
Nope. But
Flow?
that, what?
Flow?
No. Anyway, we'll stop guessing. Chad will get it, I'm sure. Supply chain. Thank you, Brendan. Yes, supply chain. So you can't let an adversary control your pipeline. Period. Supply chain. Supply chain. Colonel Robinson also coming in with the correct answer. You can't. You can't. So that is the level of argument. If somebody wants to attack my stance, that would be the place to go. I have a foundational belief that the situation that you're in right now, debt and from manufacturing, you can't do. You have a moral obligation to the citizens of your country to not do those two things. So there it is.
Yeah. I think we got something. Eunice, help me out.
All right, Jab just asked an interesting question. Tom, what are you doing personally to benefit from the current global financial environment? Okay, so I was already in a hyper defensive position. Being defensive right now feels like the only logical thing in the world. I will be closely watching the stock market. If we go into a really dark place, I'm going to start buying. That sounds horrible, but I'm waiting because one of two things is true. The dip right now is temporary, in which case it doesn't matter, and I'm not going to try to time the market. Or we're going somewhere real dark, and it will be a huge buying opportunity because I still live below my means. Despite having an extravagant house, I just have so much dry powder that I never have to worry about money. So I'm in a position where if it goes in a really, really dark place, even literally, if California turned communist tomorrow, I would just accept that I just lost whatever money I have tied up in this house, and it won't fucking matter. And so it'll just be like, okay, well, that sucks, and I won't be happy about it, but it's not going to change the fact that I never have to work or worry about money and blah, 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 blah. So I would just peace out. I'm going to be happy about it. But anyway, when you live below your means, those kinds of things don't cause you stress. So it really becomes a question of, am I being defensive enough? That's where I'm at in my life. And then it would become a huge buying opportunity. And I would still be cautious because I'm more in a preserve my wealth than I am increase my wealth. So I would buy the dip in like a super diversified indexy way. I don't believe the U.S. economy is going anywhere. As long as we remain a place of high innovation, I will bet on that long term. And so right now, I think we're still in a wait and watch scenario.
How long will it actually take to get all the manufacturing set up back in the U.S. compared to existing factories that can be reorganized to building from scratch in years to actual production?
7 years from now, we'll be in a much better place. 15 years from now, you'll be beast mode.
Are you saving up for the Zuck bunker?
No.
You
No,
wouldn't get
I've
one?
actually had people pitch me to buy one. That just,
You're not interested.
no.
Why not?
Being mobile, I think, is far wiser. Because I think some part of me is so fundamentally optimistic.
Okay.
I don't think there's going to be nuclear war, which is the only thing you really need a bunker for.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I am fundamentally optimistic. I don't, it may be a failure of imagination, and the cockroaches that survive the nuclear apocalypse will want to play this quote and laugh. But yeah, I just don't see it going dark like that. I think humans talk real fucking scary shit, and then they pump the brakes at the last second. I think the thing you have to worry about is AI either becomes super intelligent and just does not give a fuck about what we want.
Yeah.
That could be bad. But I think that that's a bet that I'm willing to make. And then a person in their own basement making a biological weapon that takes everybody out, that's scary. But nuclear war, I don't worry about. That's bunker territory. The thing that I'm dealing with right now intellectually is if America breaks into a civil war, would I fight or would I leave?
And
That I don't have an answer.
not yet.
Yeah, because I really need to think about what that means. Would I respect myself more if I left or if I stayed?
The country?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you think you'd be able to leave the country?
Of course.
Why do you say of course?
Because let's say the second something happens that I believe is legitimate, like, oh, okay, this is the shot fired, you can buy visas when you have money. So you private flight, you buy a visa if you have to. You can buy one to America now with the fucking Trump gold card. So, and you can peace out. Piecing out when you're wealthy is always an option. It's just, I don't live my life by that. I live my life by a set of principles on what makes me respect myself. But my
Well,
wife
Jesus
getting killed in a
said,
civil war
Tom, come to Canada.
would not make me happy. I don't trust fucking Canada. You are out of your mind. The second you guys fucked with the truckers, I was like, Canada is not a safe place.
Aaron says Japan will take you if you have money.
Yeah. Dude, you know how cheap the houses are?
No.
You can buy like a legit house for like $100,000.
In Japan?
Yeah.
Like what is a legit house? Like a 3
You
bedroom?
need to look them up easily.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
Probably like some of the ones that were going for like 25 grand. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
So for 100 grand, like you're not going to be in Tokyo, but
Yeah.
you can get like an actual place. Now, Japan is not the first. It's a fun place to visit,
Yeah.
but culturally, I'm so American. I am the brash American. So here's the honest answer. Where do you go right now? You go to Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Why Abu Dhabi?
The vibe in the Middle East is fucking dope right now in certain places. So Dubai,
And when you're
dope.
a man.
When I bumped in, when you're what?
A man.
I think it's
Lisa?
broader than that.
Would
I
you
think
go
it's
to
broader
Abu
than that.
Dhabi, Lisa?
They're like, would you,
She would have to, like, in certain places, she would have to.
in certain places, it's horrific, but the UAE isn't one of those places.
Lisa
My wife
says
has
no.
been to the UAE.
She said no.
She won't go.
In the chat, in all caps, no! Exclamation point! Exclamation point!
Okay.
Exclamation point!
Y'all got to figure out y'all Civil War plans. man.
Elizabeth.
Y'all need to be
Okay, wait.
on
we're,
the same
hold on,
page.
hold on.
What about Smurf and Wookie? The baby angels? What are we gonna
It's,
do with
it's
that?
shocking how much that would actually impact me. But setting that aside for a second,
The Smurf, the baby angels?
Yeah.
Or,
The baby angels.
my wife is saying that from a place of feeling safe. And if it was unsafe and I said the place to go to be safe is XYZ, and she's in the chat, so I hope that she will chime in one way or the other if she thinks I'm wrong, that if I were convinced for the safety of this family it's what we had to do, she would do it for sure.
She said, anywhere they don't respect women, I'm not going.
She's been to Dubai. She wore a bikini in Dubai. She's had alcohol in Dubai. She knows better.
All right, we got to
So,
go.
Oh shit! Like that. Drew's like, I'm not letting you worried. You worried? Am I going somewhere bad here, Drew?
No, I
'Cause
think
we
you guys
still
gotta
have 10
film
minutes.
2 tight 60s today.
No,
and
but
still
stuff.
have 10
Drew's
minutes.
worried
all
about
day.
getting it all done.
We're filming all day today.
So Lisa's saying she would do it to live. I think that's what she
Oh
means.
well, yeah. She would go as a tourist, but not to live.
Dubai could change, and that's why you got to be ready, Rotor. Here's the thing. I love America, though. I'm not sure I'd be willing to leave. And the conversation may be me convincing Lisa that she needs to go somewhere safe and I need to fight. I don't know. I would be virtue signaling if I started banging a drum right now.
Would you change your cultural values when you go live in another country?
Yeah, you have to respect that culture's values for sure. But if you've been to the UAE, they have a really fascinating divide. I think people think that Saudi and the UAE are the same, and they are very different. Very different. So I've also been to Saudi. Saudi was lovely, but that one would make me nervous. So that one I would have way more hesitation.
Cool. Thank you for the love, everybody. Chat, you're the best. Happy Easter
Chat, you
to
are
those
the
that
best.
celebrate. Good Friday.
Will D,
Whatever happened on Saturday.
I certainly would be respectful of it being a nation under Islam for sure. But if you go to the UAE, you'll see it plays out very differently. They specifically make space for foreigners because that country is some ungodly percentage of foreigners. I mean, just massive, massive, massive. It feels, in the little time that I've spent there, it feels very Western. So Lucky. Okay, wait, here we go. Lucky, if you would, please. Is that aimed at me? Because
No.
if that's aimed at me, you need only tell me what you think the thing is that I'm missing. If
No,
it's aimed
that's a Twitch argument that's happening.
Yeah.
Got it. But we're not here for it?
I don't have it pulled up. I have the combined chat, so I can't see where it happened.
Would you like me to read it?
This does
Yes,
not
please.
look like a steal.
Lyrit said, Marxism destroys meritocracy. Lucky said, you enjoy being misinformed. Western ignorance. Decades of propaganda. No. Lyrit says, talent, effort, work ethic. None of that matters in Marxism, socialism. Only that equity is achieved. Echo says, happy Easter. Lyrit says, fact. Lucky says, happy Easter.
Okay, I think they resolved it. I will say I fall much more, not much more. I'm on Lyra's side on that one. All right, with that. Boys and girls.
Don't forget to watch Black Mirror.
Yes.
Everybody remember your homework for this weekend.
Black Mirror Season 7, Episode 1. We'll talk
Yep,
about it next week.
That's the one. That's the one.
Can I
And
borrow
then
somebody's next Netflix
Yeah,
login?
you can.
That's hilarious.
I'll give you mine.
Copy, perfect.
We are not live tomorrow, boys and girls. We are not live tomorrow. So forgive us. We are doing a 3-day weekend. I hope you guys all have a wonderful weekend. Thank you for being here. As always, it is an absolute joy to get to spend time with you. Until next time, my friends, be legendary, everybody. Peace out.
XOXO.
Gossip Girl.